Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and John Tortorelli. And this is episode 477. Now, Mr. Joe Dells is in Florida. Filling in is Mr. John T, who has a hat on. And do you want to tell the audience why you have that hat on?
I do. I'm taking it off.
Bald.
I'm bald. This...
Plus 10,000 aura.
Why would he do that?
This week, me and some of my friends cut her hair to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Shout out to them.
I had my friends cut my hair, so it's not a barber that did it. I saw some very funny comments because Joel posted on Twitter a pic right after I was sitting in the group chat. And I thought it was Riv. That's the type of thing that Riv would do.
Oh my God!
But I was wrong.
You're racist.
All right, this is not about you. I apologize for thinking it was you.
It's not about you.
I thought you had access to the Twitter and you didn't.
I used to.
So, as you can tell,
loose cannon. You never know what can happen from you.
a part of my fraternity's chapter, we have a philanthropy event every single year, which is Buzz Away, where we raise money. And we just hit our goal, but I think we're going to crush it even more this year. So,
what is the goal? If I
it was $3,500,
Okay,
and we already surpassed that. And it was a great event. Over 20 of us shaved their heads. So, I'm kind of happy I was part of it this year. And a lot of people on Twitter were really positive and receptive. There's some funny comments before I'd even quote tweeted the initial post by the account. And I was going to say, of course, if anyone would like to donate to a great cause, it would be greatly appreciated if you had the ability to. But if not, I do appreciate all the support that I got because, shaving your head, it's something not a lot of people want to do. I'm kind of happy I did it this year, and it's going to be an absolute great event. So
It's ballsy.
John, I want to say what you're doing is special.
It is.
Like, what you're doing for a good cause, that part about it is amazing. Now, to get on to the haircut.
yeah.
You're going to hell, Riv.
You look like you're in the movie Jarhead. Like,
Oh my God.
I've never seen
I've never
Jarhead.
seen that movie Jarhead, John?
No comment.
You got to see it.
You haven't seen the movie? I haven't seen it.
It's a good movie.
But do you know what he's
Not
referencing to or no?
I don't want it.
No, it's a good movie. It's a
Okay.
good-ass movie.
The link will be
about
in
to
the
show you.
description down below. I thought you looked like one of the main characters from Prison Break.
That's what I thought when I shaved my head. That's immediately what I thought. And
Jarhead?
yeah, I guess.
Is it a
It's
war
a war
movie?
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've never
Look
seen
like
it
Jake,
before.
man.
Because my best friend Colin shaved my head. My friends were busting my balls obviously about it. And I was like, I don't think it's going to look too bad. That being said, you need to go to the barber. You need to go to Carlos in a couple of days to get faded. A lot of people on Twitter saying, there were some funny comments. One was, I love John, but seeing his buzz cut makes me feel 1,000 times better about mine.
You're gonna cut the sides off? You just
Yeah.
cut the sides off?
And there are a few others too. I need to go to Turkey. I thought about that. That was funny.
I haven't gotten a
that was good
buzz. Ooh, wow. The funny thing was, I used to only get buzz cuts. Like basically the entirety of my life until 2020 when everybody was growing out their hair. And then I kind of went to the hairstyle that I have now. But before that, always was buzzing it. Never realized I'd reach another level by growing it out. That being said, it's kind of maintenance, believe it or not. Like you think that it's the easy things, you just buzz it. No, but getting the shape up, getting the line
Yo,
up.
John.
You gonna get waves?
John, listen, let me tell you about what happened in the hood.
I don't
man.
think I got that in my repertoire.
No.
John,
If you're getting a fade, might as well go all in.
John, in the hood, listen, all the young kids used to get a one. If you know what a one is.
Yeah.
With my type of hair, a one is like you have a clean, bald head. Like you can see it, the hairs in it. So what they used to do is walk around.
Pop you.
Boom, boom, boom. Walk around. Smack the head, smack the head. So you got past a really good time because at that time.
John has like a 3 though.
I have a 2.
Yeah,
That's a 2?
For him, yeah, that's a 2. But like that, like, shit, that's a good cut.
Are you telling him they would smack him?
Nah, because he
Back
has
in the
hair on
day,
his
you would
head.
get smacked.
Yeah, I'm saying back in the day when you used to get a 1, like it depends on your hair texture. Like you get a 1, walk around the head, just you be in class just chilling, or you say boom, smack in the back of the head. You like, come on, bro.
Yeah, well, good times. Good thing we don't live in those times when we're John. So what you're doing is really great. You're doing it for a cause. We're gonna have
Shout out to
the
John,
link
man.
in the description down below if you guys want to donate to John's cause. I mean, how did you feel once you did it? It's a very like courageous thing.
I felt great. Quite honestly, I'm kind of glad that I did it, and it's nice when you're doing it with all your friends. I had my best friend for my entire life cutting my hair, my big Evan, and it was like a nice like communal thing. I think brings
Evan cut
all
his
of
hair?
us. He does not, but he cut my hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was about
Evan.
to say,
Evan started. My best friend Colin
Oh, okay,
finished.
okay.
And I think it brings me and all my friends together because you're all doing it together, and then right after celebrating together, and it's all of you guys bald. So it's a really awesome tradition that we do, and I think it kind of helps bring all of us closer together. So it's pretty awesome all together.
Now, if you're here 5 minutes into the podcast, make sure to like and subscribe. We cannot do this without your continued support. Let's get those likes up. 500 likes on this episode at the minimum. Let's try to get 1,000. Let's try to get feisty. Let's try to get to 1,000 likes.
Why not 1 million?
Why not 1 million likes?
We don't get 1 million views.
Hey, look, why not get there? Why not? Why can't
We
this
get like
episode be the
10,000 and 15,000 views. I think 1,000 likes is possible.
Set the expectation
1 of 15
egregiously
people
high.
liking.
Like,
Let's
if
get 1 million views. Why not?
1 million
25.
views, and if we're getting 1 million views, what's wrong with 25,000 likes? I mean, like, what? Why not change the standard?
1 million people can't just watch.
Well, the more likes we get, the more we'll appear in the algorithm. So the more they like it,
He's right.
we might get to that point.
He's cooking.
So make sure you guys like the video. And I need to tell a story. I almost got into a fight in the parking lot. I
wanna
won't say
fight
I
you?
almost got into a fight because it wasn't like a mutual thing. You know, it would mean that I was also like willing to get into a fight, and that's not the case. I was just at the Giants farmers market, and the parking lot is weird. It's like slanted, and the carts, there's really nowhere to put them. So a lot of people put the carts, the shopping carts, in the parking spots. So a lot of open parking spaces aren't really open. So I had to go all the way in the back, and I had to park. And I'm turning, I park pretty perfect in this parking spot. There was a person that was parked right next to me that was there before me, and his wheel was on my side of the parking space.
Okay.
Once I pull in, he's in the car with his wife, and he looks at me. Like, he looks at me because I just pull into a random parking spot, and he just keeps staring at me. And then I lowered down my window, and I was like, "What's up?" And then he was like,
He didn't like that.
He was like, "What you mean? What's up? What you mean? What's up?" And I was like, "You were looking at me." I lowered my window to ask, like, "What's up?" Like, you know, I'd not like to challenge him to a fight or nothing. I'm like, you know, why are you looking at me? And then he was just like, "What do you mean? You pulled up in here, you acting like you got a problem with me, like you want something." I'm like, "This is a parking spot." And then he was like, "Yo, I could get out the car right now." And then I was like, "It's not that serious, bro. Like, it's really not." And then he was just like, "That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not that serious." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're yelling." You know what I'm saying? It's not that serious. And he was like, "Yeah, but you just pulled up in here like you want something." And I was like, "No, I pulled up in for a parking spot, and your wheel is on my side of the lane." And he was like, "Yeah, it's on the line. That's where it's supposed to be." And I'm like, "No, it's crossed over. Like, your wheel is like on the parking lane." And then he was like, "No." And I'm like, "Look." And then he looked at it, and I was correct. And then he was just like,
Tough spot to be in.
he just took an L. His wife was in the car, like, scolding him and stuff. And then they just like parked correctly. And then I was just like, "Oh my goodness."
No, you owned him.
Yeah, I was just like, "Oh my goodness." Like, going to a farmer's market to buy some produce, to buy some mandarins and oranges. I bought some Dubai chocolate. I bought some kiwis.
Nice.
Bought a lot of fresh produce, and
fruit.
you know,
Cook.
I was just like, this dude is over here giving me
I'm gonna be
a
honest,
tough
I
time.
hated that story.
Yeah.
I really hate when
Learn how to
people
park,
do
kid.
the most.
Yeah.
My God.
That's tough.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Do you
You
park
ain't
in
got
that?
better stuff to do?
Do you park in that spot? Can you need a shopping cart as well, and they're only in that spot?
No, I parked there because it was the only parking spot available.
Okay.
Yeah, every other parking spot they had a shopping cart in it. So
I wasn't sure if there were no shopping carts left, so you're going. To
yeah, no, it's not like I pulled up on him and it's like it was like no reason to pull up on him. Like, no, I was there. Then he kept staring at me. He just kept like looking at me, like I'm looking at the camera. How he looked at me. Like, he did this for like 20 seconds. So I eventually just lowered my window.
I
like,
don't blame you.
Like, what's up? Like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, you act like I'm doing something wrong. And then, you know, that's how the whole interaction happened. But it was just kind of annoying.
Hey, you left with a win.
Yeah, I know. I took the W.
Not every situation like that do people walk away with a dub.
No, sometimes you get.
You challenged him one.
Yeah.
He was staring you down. You looked back at him. Not only you look back, you lowered your window and said, "Can I help you?"
I just hate getting into interactions with people because I feel like you just never know who you run into.
I agree.
Like, there are some people that.
I mean, he wanted smoke.
Yeah, there are some people that have road rage. Like, imagine if this was like an open carry state, you know, like.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's stories about like people just like going ballistic over, you know, driving and road rage and stuff. So I'm just glad it's not in a state where like it's open carry like that. But That's why I don't like getting into interactions like that, because you never know what somebody's up to. Like, people will end their life for the most dumbest shit.
I won't say you asked for it, because you definitely didn't, but you opened yourself up to that when you lowered your window and spoke to him.
Yeah, but what I was gonna do,
Agreed.
The alternative was me getting out the car and him like saying something to me, because he was looking at me for like 20 seconds. So I'm just like, okay, like,
I respect it.
Why
Trust
is he,
me,
why
I
is
do.
he looking at me like this?
Oh,
But-
I thought you handled the situation exceedingly well.
But on today's episode, gonna give our top 5 teams in the West. Also going to rank our top 10 wide receivers of the 2010s era. John will be here for about an hour, and then he has to go
Probably less than that.
because he has a presentation today for
Education, John.
class. So, he's doing a podcast, then he's going to class.
Hope you cooked that
He's a
presentation.
good man,
too, bro.
a good fellow. And John, I'll let you kickstart the list. Who's your number 5 in the top 5
My
teams in the
top 5
West?
teams in the West. That's a great question. I'm preparing my list right now. Start with Riv, and I'll come back in a second.
You think I have mine?
All right, I'll start. My number 1, we're going to start with 1, or we want to start with 5? I know.
If we start with 1 and 2, I can tell you those.
All
I
right, so
have
then
done.
that's fine. Let's start with number 5. My number 5, I know they haven't been playing the best basketball of late. I know they did just lose last night to the Indiana Pacers. I'm still going to go with the Denver Nuggets. Their defense has not been great, not even a little bit. And I know my honorable mention, I'm just going to say off rip, is the LA Clippers. I say their honorable mention because, again, I don't know what I'm getting from them. They've been playing excellent basketball this last month and change. I can acknowledge that. But again, I'm staying consistent until I know for a fact I'm getting a healthy Los Angeles Clippers, really a healthy Kawhi Leonard. I can't find myself fully investing into them.
You don't know that, though.
You don't. You're right.
Yeah.
I
But
don't.
you might never know that.
So there's no, you're just
Exactly.
gonna doubt them.
I'm not
until-
going to guess.
until it
Exactly.
happens.
I'm not going to guess. And that's why I'd rather be on this side of being pleasantly surprised.
But right
truthfully.
now they're healthy though.
And that's been the case
you
last
have
season.
come a long way.
He
my
has been.
friend.
He has been.
I'm
And-
just saying right now they're healthy.
I'm just saying you've come
It's
a long
just
way.
Like based on the way they're playing when they're healthy.
But their history has shown me that they can be healthy in this period of time, and then the playoffs start,
usually
and then
Kawhi gets
things
hurt,
go wrong.
like now.
Go wrong.
I don't
but he
think
got
they've-
hurt against the Suns in that series while he was going ballistic.
he came back from an injury though.
And
in
then
that series.
against the Jazz, he goes and he's playing well, and
But the
then
year
he
after
gets
that,
hurt.
year or two after that, he got hurt late in the season.
He did.
And then,
Last
like you
year
said, with the
was
Suns, yeah, he
correct.
got hurt like a month ago before, and
he
then he got
came
hurt
into
again.
that series hurt.
Last year, I was going to say he missed like the last 9 games and then was ready to play come Mavericks
My
series.
counterpoint to that is I don't think the Clippers have ever looked this good.
I think 2020 was a great team. I think 2020 they had everything. They just were unclutched in the big moment.
I think this team looks better than that team.
What was it? 2021.
2021?
They looked
Oh no, when they went to the WCF,
Yeah, they looked
But
They
I'm
were
talking
amazing
about
team.
regular season leading into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think the
couldn't-
Clippers-
regular
honestly don't
is
season
the
leading
best
into the
they've looked.
playoffs, then I'm really doubling down on 2020. They had arguably the best defense. Kawhi Leonard was playing excellent basketball, and you really had a confident Paul George then too until playoffs
The Clippers
started.
are second in
He was
defensive
great
rating.
in the regular season. So.
Right now, you're saying
They're second,
no. I understand
yeah.
that they're a great defense.
Yeah. No,
I think they've been that all year.
They have been that. Their offense is what's been
I think
lacking,
they're
and then
top
now enter
5
Kawhi.
in net rating since the All-Star break. But your number 5 is Denver.
My number 5 is Denver. I still look at Nikola Jokic, acknowledge him as the best player in the world. That's obvious. And on top of that, too, I think that without Jamal Murray playing, you still lose a little bit of secondary ball handling and offense there. Really like what Aaron Gordon has provided this season. Christian Brown should be MIP, but that won't happen, unfortunately. I can understand where the defense is the biggest concern, but sometimes you just need an overwhelming offense, and Denver has that. I'm going with 5.
Denver's off my list. I
get
think
that, too.
That's crazy.
the uncertainty with
The
the
defense is
Clippers
bad.
that
I
you're
get it.
mentioning, I think there's a certainty that I have with the Nuggets that the defense is bad.
It's true.
And on offense, it's Joker or bust. This past week, he had a 60-point triple-double and lost, and a 40-point triple-double and lost. And the other game where he didn't have a 40-point triple-double, they lost.
Triple-double without Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, second and third best players.
But they still lost with an insane performance.
That's 'cause
playing
Westbrook.
against Minnesota. Yes.
They're playing respectable teams. Pacers aren't
They,
slouches.
the Minnesota
Minnesota's.
didn't have Nas Reed or Dante DiVincenzo.
True.
Okay.
To be fair, Ant-Man had 50 with Minnesota, and they lost.
That's true.
You can argue Nas Reed is better than Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
You can.
Jamal Murray.
Well, Jamal Murray, yeah, of course he's
That's their
huge. But
second best
still,
player.
Porter
you
Jr.
had
That's
a,
a
you had a,
That's a
you had a
playoff rise.
you had one of the 3 60-point triple doubles in NBA history, and you lost. James Harden won his game, and Luka Doncic won his game in overtime.
Losing is definitely an
Wasn't his fault,
indictment on.
I'm not
the
saying it
team.
was his fault, but I'm
They
saying
weren't healthy.
They
that
weren't
game.
healthy, and I'm
you
with
lose
John.
that game.
So I'm not
But
gonna-
I understand his sentiment of the team itself.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put the Rockets above them in this ranking because the Nuggets
the Rockets
lost.
are above them.
I don't have the Rockets
I do.
above the Nuggets.
You don't.
No, I
So
don't.
that means you got a sleeper.
I have Minnesota at number 5, and
Oh,
that's
Lord
because
have
every
mercy.
time they've faced the Nuggets since the playoff series, they have put BTA.
Hey, question. You have Minnesota at 5. You have Denver at 5. You're probably gonna have Houston at 4.
I do.
I got the Clippers at 5.
You don't have Houston in your top 5.
They're a honorable mention.
All right. So here's my question with Houston.
I just don't know why we're disrespecting them.
I don't think it's disrespect. I want to play devil's advocate on both sides here.
Okay.
So as I'm sorry, fans, I work all day, constructing my list. I thought the first 3 were easy for me to kind of pick
100%.
who I'm going to be. The next 2 at 5 and 4, I think it's a 4-man race between Denver, Clippers, Minnesota, Houston.
I got that.
Now, here's my question. Obviously, it's going to be experience to why you guys aren't putting Houston in the top 5. Yet, they've shown you all year at every waking moment that not only can they beat all these teams, which they have beat all these teams, they can play competitive basketball at the highest level. So my question is, why are they not there? Is it really just experience? And I get the lacking offense thing, but even with that, they've beaten a lot of good teams. All of these teams on this list, they've beaten.
I would happily be wrong about Houston. My gut feeling about Houston is that they're a year away from being a true contender and making some noise. I think they can be a frisky first-round playoff series, and depending on the matchup, they can win that series. But we're talking about other teams in the West that have the experience and they have the better player in the series. The Warriors, Lakers, OKC would have the best player in the series.
Those are obvious.
The Clippers, Denver, they would have the best player in the series. I think the only team in the West that's in a playoff race right now that you could talk yourself into, or they're better than, and they have the best player in the series, is the Grizzlies. But with how Ja Morant's been playing, you got to give the nod to Ja Morant. All the numbers back up the Rockets. So this is a gut feeling thing for me because they're one of 7 teams to have a winning record against 500 teams. They are top 5 in net ratings since the All-Star break. They are one of the best teams against other Western Conference teams. So all the numbers will point to Houston being legitimate, but this is my gut feeling with them. My gut feeling is, in a series against Anthony Edwards, am I going to bet against Anthony Edwards? I'm not going to do that.
Okay. All right. That's really my question.
The Rockets' defense is going to translate to the playoffs. It's going to be incredible. The reason why I'm lower on them is because, for one, their offense is very inconsistent and unreliable from a shooting standpoint. They're bottom 10 at 3-point attempts, makes, and percentage. I look at those lineups and how important the half-court offense becomes in the postseason crucible, where in every single series, they're not going to be the best player. In some series, they're one of the second-best player. And their season, which is incredible, they're a 52-win team. They've exceeded expectations. They've been a top 5 defense all year long, and their offense has been top half. But they've been a very healthy team this year. And we're seeing a lot of these teams in the Western Conference start to get healthy. I'm taking a slight leap with assuming that Jamal Murray will be healthy. I'm under the expectation that the Nuggets are really preparing for the playoffs because their expectations don't lie in games 1 to 82. It lies in what they do in April and May. And I believe in those series,
Gotta be careful there, John.
Why am I at the
Because last year, I thought the same thing. I was with you last year.
Minnesota last year was incredible, and they were a team designed by the person who built the Nuggets. So they're designed to play the Nuggets.
That's very
And
true.
Everything. I mean, Jokic had a masterful game 5, but everything went wrong for the Nuggets in that
Agreed.
series. From the play of KCP and the inconsistency of Jamal Murray in a terrible matchup
100%.
to really the bench being a complete liability. So
Game 7 Jokic, too.
I don't want to talk about that game. So it was
Just being nasty.
Yeah, but Minnesota number 5 for me is just people haven't paid enough attention to this. They're 4th in offensive rating since the All-Star break. Julius Randle has added a level of playmaking to that team that they needed since last year, and they have more than enough shooters on this team. Anthony Edwards can play on the ball, off the ball. He's improved as a playmaker. Him and Rudy Gobert are a top 10 pick and roll duo in terms of points per possession. So I think Minnesota is a very complete team that has about 8 to 9 players that have played in the playoffs and have played well in the playoffs outside of Randle. I think Randle's the big wild card.
No doubt.
But he's been in the playoffs 2 times already. He hasn't performed up to his level. I think with Minnesota, he's going to perform. I have a good feeling about it.
See, that's the one thing I wanted to do, at least coming in, is not go off previous doubts where I have with the Clippers, and I have with Minnesota. Those would be my 2 honorable mentions. Now, there's a little hypocrisy here with what I'm going to say right now because I am going number 4, the Houston Rockets, but I'm going off what I've seen this season. This is a young team that does lack experience, so that's to the point that Riv was making, but we're talking about a top 4 defense for the entirety of the season. Post All-Star break, we're talking about a top 2 defense. Post All-Star break, we're talking about a top 10 offense in terms of offensive rating. They're 9th in offensive rating since the All-Star break. Now, I know that they have the lack of consistent offense. That is their biggest issue. Mostly because Jalen Green, you don't know what version you're going to get. But Joel, you and I were just talking before the show starting. There's a correlation from when he plays good to when he does struggle. When he plays at a very high level and he's his most efficient version, 9 out of 10 times the Houston Rockets are celebrating a W. If you're going to get that player out of Jalen Green, I become exceedingly high on the Rockets. But I think that this defense gives them such a strong floor. They have so much versatility on the defensive side of the ball. And like Riv is saying before, they have a great record against 500 teams. There's only 2 teams that have, or 3 teams, excuse me, that have a better record than them against 500 teams in the NBA. And in the West, the only team that has a better record than them in the West is OKC.
The team that I feel like the Rockets are on the same tier as is a team in the East. I think they're on the same tier as a team like the Rockets. They're different styles.
Rockets are who? The
Rockets
East version of who?
Pacers.
Got it.
I think stylistically they're obviously different because the Rockets are a defensive first team. But in terms of the Pacers, where we say a lot of things got to go right for them to go on a run, that's how I feel about the Rockets. They are 2 teams that they can muck things up and you can't sleep on, but they don't have the top end talent to compete with the better teams. And in the West, you have that. Like the Clippers at 4, that's my 4 because Kawhi Leonard, when he's been healthy, they're 23-11 this season. That's the second best record in the West, only behind the OKC Thunder from a win percentage standpoint. And you look at the leap that Zubac has taken. People are crediting Harden for it, and Harden has made the game easier on him, but Zubac has gotten better. And I think we're going to have this conversation later. Zubac hasn't been given enough attention for Defensive Player of the Year.
100%.
He's been that elite defensively. And then you have James Harden playing at a high level, Norman Powell, another great scorer. This is the second best defensive rating in the NBA last time I checked on NBA.com. So I'm looking at the Clippers, and with the offense they have, Kawhi playing at his very best, and the role players, this is going to be a very tough team to beat in the playoffs.
I've also got the Clippers in my top 5. They're number 5 for me. And I want to have them a little bit higher. The reason why I'm not putting them in that top 4 discussion is because I don't know exactly what I'm getting from James Harden in the playoffs. But I expect one thing. Their defense will be amazing. And it has been on that same level of a team like Houston. But why I'm more confident in them is, 1, a healthy Kawhi in the playoffs as that half-court shot creator. It simplifies the game for everybody else around them. And when you look at their team, they don't take a lot of threes. They're bottom 5 in attempts and makes, but they're top 10 efficiency. And that's with Kawhi missing a huge chunk of the season. You look at their lineup between the amount of shooting and spacing they have to the shot creation Kawhi gives you, and the complementary play of guys like Norman Powell, who is now getting back into the lineup, and Ivica Zubac. I believe they have enough complementary players to elevate Kawhi in a way that we saw very much like that 2021 team that went to the conference finals. I don't know necessarily if they're going to have the right matchups to get there, but I do believe they can easily win a playoff series if Kawhi is playing at 90% of what he's been in the last couple of years, 80%, but he's been that good of a playoff performer. He could be 85% of what he once was, and they'll still be winning a playoff series.
Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is the Lakers.
Clippers or Lakers?
Lakers are at 4.
You said Clippers.
You said Clippers.
No, you said Clippers at 5. Lakers at 4.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I thought we were on 4.
I didn't hear 5.
No, we're on 4, but he
didn't
went
get
at 5. I think he had an honorable mention. That's why.
So Clippers are 5. 4 is the
Rockets
Lakers.
from honorable mention, yes.
Interesting. Lakers at 4. Nuggets are high, John.
Yep.
Nuggets are high.
It helps that in every series they have the best offensive player.
Riv, let me
matter
ask
last
you.
year.
Do you have the Clippers in your 5?
I'm still deciding.
All
It
right.
didn't matter.
Here's the thing. I feel like Denver, Clippers, Minnesota, Houston are all in the same tier. Like I feel like it's really hard for me to. I'm trying not to disrespect Houston.
There's reason to, but I don't want to be that guy.
I feel like this could be a year where experience could get thrown out the window, and they just because they play such a different style,
100%.
where like experience does matter. But when your defense is that good,
It's amazing.
and with all those young players on your team,
They don't play that young defensively.
That's what I'm saying. Like
facts.
it's like, yo,
You're
bro,
right,
like
John.
they play way ahead. Like you would think this is a veteran team on the defensive side of the basketball. Although if you're telling me like we're relying on Jalen Green every other night consistently against a top end, playoff defense, like if they play Minnesota or something like that, then I'm like, all right, like
You're relying on that, and you're relying on good shooting. You're
From
relying
Dylan
on
Brooks.
Brooks, Green,
Yeah.
Van Vliet,
It's a lot.
Şengün post-ups.
But I also think I can say the same thing about other teams that have to play them, because defensively, this is a team that can make it really disgusting. If I had to, gun to my head, 5-4, I'd probably go. I'll go Houston 5. I want to give them a little love. I'll take a leap of faith. I'll go Houston at 5, and I'll go Clippers at 4.
So I was wondering if you were going to put Clippers in your 5, because I think ceiling-wise, if you're telling me 100% signed and sealed that Kawhi Leonard is healthy, their ceiling to me is WCF. I think with Kawhi Leonard, that team is talented enough defensively to go to the WCF. The fact that I can't trust it is why they're not in my top 5. I think the way that they're playing right now, I get why you guys are high on them wholeheartedly. When you have a defense that great, that sound, at every level, the versatility that they provide as well, plus you have one of the better playmakers in basketball in Kawhi Leonard, and in James Harden, and now you're getting a fringe top 10 player when he's absolutely 100% healthy. I mean, I feel like that to a lot of people is crazy for me to say he's locked top 10 in a lot of people's eyes.
Too.
I just can't trust the health of them. And that's the only reason I'm having reservation.
You're
but I
right.
get where you guys are coming from.
Wait, so
You're
you're
right, but
saying you're saying they're not a top 5 team because of health? Because I feel like that's a different conversation.
For me, it's talking about my top 5. Because if we're going by top 5, we could basically do it in the order that they're seated right now. Because the way that they're seated right now, that could be the top 5. I'm not trying to do that like that, because I do think that there are teams that deserve respect. I do think that I understand where you guys are coming from when it comes to the Clippers. I just can trust what I've seen out of the Nuggets because they've shown me that the last 3 years.
This is the best plan the Clippers have had to get a healthy playoff Kawhi.
No doubt.
Obviously, they're continuing to do what they've done in the past, not playing back-to-backs, but this is the first time they've had a season start after the new year, in the middle of January, where in the last couple of years, he was trying to play in October and November.
Played 70 games last year.
Yeah, basically 68, 70 games. And you look at last year, he's obviously getting worn down for the postseason, but if you take out those 2.5 months of basketball and you give him the All-Star break and then you give him this supporting cast, I think it alleviates a lot more pressure to where if he stays healthy this playoffs, you're not going to be as surprised because they've had a plan along the way to get him to April and May.
The last thing I'll say about the Rockets, and I don't want to do this because the Rockets fans are very territorial, and I understand it. They have been
They're
bad for a
52-win
long time.
team. I mean,
They're a great
yeah.
fan base.
They have
too.
right
They
to
have,
be.
yeah, they've been bad for a while. So, this their first season clinching the playoff spot since the 1920 season. I respect that, and I like the Rockets a lot because James Harden is my favorite player all time, arguably. But they, to me, remind me a lot of the third-seeded Kings, the second-seeded Grizzlies, to where they are a top seed because they play hard every night, they play defense, and they're healthy.
The Grizzlies weren't healthy.
The
When they
Grizzlies
were the second seed,
Yeah, they
in
weren't
the
healthy.
regular season, they were healthy.
Nah.
You get his point, though.
like
The
to
other two
me,
things.
they have to prove themselves because they don't have a real star, and we
for
see
sure.
how much that matters in the playoffs when you don't have that. Maybe somebody ascends of the bunch and they cement themselves and they plant their flag, but as of right now, that's the thing that's holding me back from them. That's why they're not my top 5. But my number 3.
Can I say something real quick before we move on to number
What
3?
if
I'm
they're
sorry.
the Pacers, though,
See,
of last year?
And I don't see Kings because the Kings' identity was being one of the all-time great offenses numbers-wise, and they went up against a more experienced, a veteran Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry.
What if they're that Toronto team with Lowry and Siakam leading the way?
I think
went to the second
Siakam is
round.
better than any player that's on the Rockets right now.
Yeah,
He
for
cooked.
sure. But I'm saying, like, just in terms of they play nasty. Defensively, they're there. They're sound. But offensively, it's a little muddy.
I think, if they played in a tougher conference, they probably would have been first-round exits.
Cool.
The Raptors that year.
That's my point. Like, the Rockets being in the West, winning 52 games, second
Fact.
seed. Like, and
No,
they-
that's what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
play in a tough conference.
Yeah, so it's
that's
like-
the thing. If they were in the East and they matched up against the Magic or the Hawks, I'm picking the
like,
Rockets.
I don't think Sacramento and Grizzlies, to your point, I don't think they had a top record
But-
beating 500 teams those years. Like, I don't remember. Like, I don't recall them
I
doing
think
that.
Joel's point is that what Houston has done better than anybody in the West outside teams like Oklahoma City is that they're winning on the margins. They're pummeling teams on the glass with Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams off the bench, and they have so much length, physicality, and athleticism. You have guys like Amon, who I do believe Amon as a starter this year has been just as good, if not better, than Pascal Siakam in his best years. But And that's highlighting Amen Thompson as a first-team All-NBA defender. That's a starter.
Praising Amen, but respect Pascal.
Amen's been that good.
He's been really good.
I mean, they're a 52-win team somehow. No,
but it's not just because of Amen, John.
Amen is the best defender on the second-best team in the conference.
He is,
or the second-best.
I know what you mean.
The defense in the
record-wise,
and they're also the number 2 seed, ironically. My issue with the Rockets and why I'm skeptical is not just the fact that this is Alperen Sengun's first time playing the playoffs, and Amen Thompson's. Everyone, with exception to Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. It's the idea of a lineup in the playoffs in the half court where you're playing Dylan Brooks, who's making 40% of his threes, but we've seen him do that, and then a year later, completely torpedoes in the playoffs when he's being guarded. You have Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun 3 through 5. You have Jabari Smith, who is a
great spark.
He can be a total X factor if he's making close to 40% of his threes. It opens up the lineup. But what if he's making 33%? That's 4 guys are kind of.
But here's the one thing that can go into the playoffs, and I know for a fact it'll be there. Is their defense.
For sure.
We can have questions about their offense. It's fair. But since Jabari's come back, that offense, especially that bench unit, has really gotten a nice boost. I really understand where you're coming from. I think that the difference between those teams and this Rockets team is that this defense is legit.
So the Grizzlies team, they were the 2nd seed. I can't find the record against 500 teams.
It's really hard to
second in defensive rating that year, 15th in offensive rating.
They were great.
So their identity was on defense, and in the playoffs, the offense was what held them back, and they had Desmond Bain and John Moran.
They were a terrible 3-point
Jaren,
shooting team,
and that's kind of what I see with the Rockets right now. So we'll see. I'll happily be wrong about them.
And we spoke about
that. I think they lost in the first to the Lakers.
Which year are you talking about? They were second twice. That's what. So which year?
Oh, but that year they were hurt. Versus the Lakers, they were hurt. They lost Steven Adams and they lost Brandon Clark. But if you're talking about the year that they went up and again against Golden State. That's interesting.
You can't say that.
I'm not going to speak on it. It was years ago. It's years ago.
Hey, it's years ago.
That. I mean, Anthony Davis shut down.
No. John,
no.
He can't say that.
And neither can Riv. Neither can Joel.
He can't say that.
Yeah, no. It's fair. He's right. Let's not talk about
at that time, I hated the Lakers, but objectively looking back,
the Grizzlies.
The Lakers were better. I didn't hate the Grizzlies.
All right, let's just move on from that because that's not the point. The point is versus the Warriors.
Do you think Steven Adams and Brandon Clark make a difference in that series?
They would have beat us on the glass. The reason why we had the huge difference.
Beat you guys though.
The huge difference in that series was we beat them on the glass. We were one of the worst rebounding teams in basketball. The whole point was versus the Warriors. The toughest matchup for the Warriors that year going into the playoffs was the Memphis Grizzlies.
I feel like the Grizzlies lost more so because Tyus Jones shot 15% from 3. Jaren Jackson shot 20% from 3. Desmond Bain shot 33% from 3. John Moran had one great shooting game. Dylan Brooks shot terrible from 3. Everybody played terrible. I don't think the rebounding would have made that big of a difference to where
they didn't want to leave him wide open. He couldn't hit a single shot.
So I feel like the Rockets, I happen to be wrong about them, but those are my question marks. Number 3, I have the Lakers. One of the 7 teams to have a winning record against 500 teams and the second best record against West teams, only behind OKC. My question marks with them is, can the defense hold up in the playoffs? Because the way the Lakers' defensive identity is a lot of scrambling.
Yep.
And when you play one game in 4 days, that can translate. We've seen as of recently with the uptick in the amount of games in the less amount of days that the Lakers have played, their defense has dropped off. LeBron James has been elite defensively, but can that be the case if he's playing every other day at this stage of his career? I think the Lakers don't rely on talent to get by defensively. They rely on rotations and scrambling and just hustling better than teams. And will that energy be there throughout the playoffs for multiple series? It could go maybe even 7. That's my biggest question mark. But I think Luka Doncic, he has been amazing in moments. My concern with him right now, even though he is 3rd in estimated EPM, it doesn't matter. Even with his down season stuff, he's still one of the most efficient players in the league, one of the best players in the league. My only question mark is, can your 3 ball fall at the rate that you need it to?
What is this?
Because he's not putting enough pressure at the basket. His 2-point percentage has fallen off. So his big games are very reliant on making a ton of 3-point shots. And if that 3 ball is a little up and down throughout the series, that's what worries me. But the Lakers are really good. And number 2, I'm just going to say number 2 is Golden State. You know, I know they lost to Houston last night. Steph Curry was 1 for 10. They guarded him really well all around as a team. Amen was great defensively. But I look at the Warriors' 3rd in net rating after the All-Star break, and I feel like they haven't even gotten the best version of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has learned the system and is running it well and is playing well within it and passing it to Steph when there needs to be an extra pass being made. But I'm looking at his shot attempts per game. Only 11 shot attempts per game. That's the lowest since the 13-14 season. And that's with Golden State, not for the totality of the year. So I look at a version of Jimmy Butler who can uptick that to maybe 15, 16 shot attempts per game and average 20 to 25 a night in the playoffs. I think they still haven't unlocked that. And their role players are playing excellent. AirPods and Kuminga, yeah, he did his thing against the Lakers.
Better.
He's been doing his thing.
He has.
And I feel like Kuminga's just getting smarter within the system. He's rebounding, he's playing good defense, and he's making an extra pass. So I think the Warriors all around have a good team. And Draymond, I mean, I don't think that even though he went to the media and advocated for himself for the award, I think he's a legitimately still elite defensive player.
Absolutely.
And he's anchoring their defense. So they're number 2 for me.
I respect that. My number 3 is going to be the Golden State Warriors.
After we beat you guys?
And then you guys lost the Rockets. I can understand, of course, the argument for the Warriors being number 2. Say that one more time.
What the hell does that got to do with us beating you?
Because we weren't at our best.
There's a lot of things, right? AirPods, you had 8 threes.
I was going to say Pods with a legacy game out of
Louis had
nowhere.
24 too, though.
I mean,
you know that.
He averages 13.
But you know that.
You guys were scrambling.
But you know he can do that. Say it one more
You
time.
guys were scrambling. He was
No
open sometimes.
doubt. I'll give it a lot of credit to what you guys did versus us. You guys executed a great game
Steph had
plan, and
30.
Steph went absolutely bonkers. You guys are a great
We
team.
were taking advantage of somebody.
Which is why
Luka didn't play well, though, on offense.
No,
He
Luka
also didn't play well on defense.
See, and that's one of the main reasons why that game, although it matters, I'm not going to say it doesn't, but why I'm not holding as much weight is because our best player didn't play at his best on offense. And he had a bad night. And that's a credit to the Warriors defense, but also when a player like Luka's struggling, it's mostly because of Luka.
In the 7-game
Jimmy
series.
didn't play good. Let me not say he didn't play good.
You got great performance from your role players.
I hear it.
Great, overwhelmingly great. Pod's best game of the season, great.
Your defense was shit that game.
No, it was not good. I agree.
We were taking
but then we just
advantage
bounced
of your
back
defense.
versus OKC, and we just played our best performance
That's
in a
fact.
while.
It's all matchup dependent. Like
100%.
Here's what I think.
But that's why I have you guys 3.
Yeah, I think what's been the difference between you guys beating us, you had Anthony Davis
AD.
controlling the paint.
100%.
Respect to Hayes. You don't have anybody at the rim.
What about if LeBron plays out the rim?
That's cool.
not gonna do
That's
that
fine. You want to exert all the energy
whole
there.
series.
That's fine by me. But I don't think he's gonna do that. Like now, you guys are just in scramble mode. You had Anthony Davis at the rim who was able to hold down the fort and be that. So now Golden State was stuck out there. Now you got guys like Paz that can go to the rim. Guys like Kuminga that can go to. Now Steph can take advantage. He can get to the rim. Like Jimmy Butler can now go to the rim. Like now you have a kind of a hole in your defense.
That's
to
fair.
where AD did have, but offensively, obviously with Luka, you get better. So it's really just offense. But now you guys play small, which is what the Warriors. That's probably been what they've wanted to do since Steph Curry got there. Small ball, small ball. So now you're playing into their hands.
Can I say this, though? I think that I've watched the Lakers play great interior defense, albeit you're right. No Anthony Davis versus you guys. We're going to have our difficulties. But for a majority of the Luka, LeBron, Reeves, tenured Lakers, I've seen us play great on the interior.
You guys have moments for sure.
So that's the only reason why I really... Again, I'm not going to ignore that game versus the Warriors because you guys are not an opponent to take lightly, which is why I have you guys in my top 3. I think you guys are one of the best defenses. I think you're getting the best version of Steph Curry at the absolute perfect time. And one thing I'm a guy who likes to take accountability. I question Steph as being a 1 on a championship team. I don't know if the Golden State Warriors are a championship team, but I can tell you right now, having a running mate makes a huge difference. And we're seeing that since Jimmy has gotten to the Warriors. I got to give credit where it's due. Steph has been nothing but amazing. Until last night with the 3 points. I'm just throwing a joke out there. But regardless, I respect and acknowledge the Warriors. They have veteranship. They have a great defense. And you have 2 stars.
A ton of chemistry.
And you can
stars.
argue a third because Draymond Green is going to win the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. The Warriors deserve acknowledgement. And I agree with you, Riv. It is matchup dependent. But my number 2 is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers because we have all of that as well. I just think that we are a little bit more well-rounded than you guys, outside of the fact that our interior can get brought into question because we don't have depth at the big position, but we've shown through the versatility of our lineups that we can go out there and we can still defend well at the paint. Jackson Hayes has been huge for us, and of course our three-point shooting as of late has really taken a huge jump. Luka Doncic, we talk about the highs and lows, but even at his worst, I guess you can argue, he's still, this month of March, shooting the 3 ball at an uber efficient clip. He's not attacking the basket as much, but the jump shooting has looked like it did last season, and that was a huge concern, especially with the way that he started. He looks back as a jump shooter, and of course, I think he already has he's led the team since being there, double digits in rebounds, points, and assists. He's already come in and been our best player, and that was what was expected when he came to the Lakers. So they're my number 2. I think we have defensive versatility. You talk about our rotations. It's 100% spot on. That's where we pride ourselves defensively. And then offensively, of course, you have LeBron, Luka, and Reeves, which you could argue is the best offensive trio in basketball.
So we all have the same top 3. John, you don't have the same top 3. I'm talking about me, Drew, and Riv had the same top 3. Just the order is different. Really, the 2 and 3 spot is switched. So, John, sell me on Denver because I know they're in your top 3. Sell me on Denver without mentioning Jokic is going to average 50.
I'm not going to do that. Nuggets haven't looked good. Last night was a brutal loss. They've been 0-4 the last 4 games, 3-7 in the last 10. I should know that's come without Jamal Murray in all of these games where they're starting Peyton Watson in one of those spots.
He's played
in the
well,
lineup.
though.
And he's also replacing a huge void in the shot creation and shooting department.
No doubt.
My optimism in the Nuggets really starts with the fact that right now they're the 4 seed. They're at the playoff start today. They would match up with the Clippers in a 4-5 matchup. The big concern is that the 6 and 7, you've got the Warriors, you've got the T-Wolves. Last year in the playoffs, we saw Minnesota, which was the right matchup to dethrone the Nuggets. And that series still went to 7 games with a lot of guys playing poorly. This lineup, I believe, in a little bit more defensively of Christian Brown in the postseason, who has more versatility at that guard spot than KCP did. Off the bench, Peyton Watson having 1 more year of development, I think is a positive. And having Russell Westbrook this year off the bench will be better than not having him last year because there was really no one else you could play to spell
Really?
Jamal Murray.
I knew it.
Russell Westbrook is a positive for them in the playoffs?
Just keep going. Just keep going,
better
John.
than nothing.
Sometimes
It's
as a man,
better
you got to
than-
keep going.
Yes, it's better than what they had last year.
Actually,
before.
Did you see his
Absolutely
playoff
insane.
stats last year?
Let me just phrase
with
that
with the
now.
Clippers?
I
How
apologize.
about the year before?
What the,
Clippers
what the,
though, he was a hard
he was
one,
he was the main guy and he got all the touches because Paul George and Kawhi went out. He was awesome. There's no doubt, but there was like nothing at
That
stake.
was 2 years ago.
I know what you mean. 2023.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, 2023.
In 2023's playoffs, he played quite
awful.
well.
You're selling me on these role players. I feel like I've been watching them and I'm disappointed.
John, I'm
It's-
kind of
I'm-
with you. I get what you're saying.
I'm
No,
getting to
he's
my
fitting.
main- I'm
It's
getting
just
to my
once
main
you mention
point.
Russ, that's where people are gonna make the ha-has, the jokes.
I'm getting to my main
Yeah.
point because they're 6th to 7th guy in the playoffs. What I'm really hopeful for is that
So
the
6th
Nuggets
guy.
right now are resting Jamal Murray to make sure he is right for the playoffs health-wise. Because last year he wasn't 100%, and Jaden McDaniels made him look really bad. At times, it felt like he was basically shutting him down in that series. And this year, assuming the Nuggets don't match up with the T-Wolves in that 5 spot in the first round, and are able to avoid that matchup again, Jamal Murray is a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. And when your 2 best players are huge playoff risers, you have Aaron Gordon healthy, and Christian Brown has been great and consistent all season long, I've got a lot of optimism that they can, in the second round, give Oklahoma City a hell of a series. I don't think they'll win because the Thunder are built to beat them, but I do know the Nuggets in that second round series can do a lot of damage.
But how are
it
they
really
better than
does.
us?
Defensively, I'm worried about both teams. But my
Our defense has been great,
my
John.
optimism in the playoffs, I do not trust the Lakers defense to be good.
With
But
the
in
Nuggets,
basketball,
it's a bit
and
different.
especially in the playoffs, the floor shrinks.
Yes.
And the tensions are the nerves are a lot higher. 3-point
Yes,
shots are
and
not
your
as
best
easy.
Your best defender can't close in the playoffs, and he can't play more than 15 minutes.
Well, even
we're
if
gonna
that's
talk
the
about
case,
Nuggets. I'm on the
Dorian
Nuggets.
Finney-Smith is still not going to be active on the court for more than
That's
25.
your best defender.
Well, I
Right
think
now, a guy that can play a
not
majority
even
of the game,
mentioning defenders. I
absolutely.
think it's stylistically. I think the Lakers struggle against dribble drive penetrators, and the Nuggets don't really have anybody that's going to consistently
us.
beat you off the dribble.
That is y'all.
And the Nuggets' chemistry offensively in the playoffs is something on a different level. They've been playing together at this lineup for 4 years.
Didn't matter last
Christian
year.
Brown plug and plays in. It was a 7-game
Jamal
series.
was hurt, dude. Right? We give we were
He
fair.
was
He was hurt.
He also played bad.
KCP played poorly. I do believe that last year, like we highlighted before, the playoffs were a lot about matchups. The T-Wolves their team was built by the same architect as Denver. They were the exact team to dethrone them because before that, in the first round, they beat the Lakers in 5 games, and they're controlling every game in the fourth quarter where it feels like the Lakers are beating them and they're outplaying them. What do you know? It's that Nuggets offense with a different type of telepathy because of their experience and chemistry. That's why I've got the Warriors at number 2. And I believe that the Warriors check a lot more boxes with Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, even though I trust the Lakers role players more than the Warriors. I do believe that Warriors big 3 covers everything. And with Steph Curry, despite last night being so in the playoffs, who also has something to prove, I have the Warriors being the best team to really dethrone this Oklahoma City.
So you're selling me on Jamal Murray
He just
being the
wants
best
5.
version
Not
of
something to
himself.
prove. He just won his 5th, you know.
That's what you're selling
I
me
think
on.
a lot of people this year ready to take Steph Curry at their top 10, thinking that he's not still that true top 10 guy. And quite frankly, I think you give a guy like that, a top 12 player of all time, a little bit motivation, he'll find something like that and he'll use that.
I haven't seen that. When you see it on Twitter, at me, so I can know specifically, so I can attack that person.
That Steph wasn't a top 10 guy.
He's in her circle.
All right, John. So Jamal Murray, outside of last year, was a superstar in the playoffs. He averaged 26. The year where he averaged 21 on not so great efficiency, even though he was all right. Yeah, still, even that year I thought was better than last year.
The second year,
they lost in the second round. So, what version of Jamal Murray do you think the Nuggets are getting? Because it seems like they need to get that version where he's averaging 25.
They do on very good efficiency, and that's the spark that makes them an offense
that an
that
anomaly?
most teams can't guard. It's not an anomaly because you saw it for
He did it multiple times.
Runs, 2 deep playoff runs.
But we don't know if that was the peak and this is the decline.
I know you're a notorious
There's
Jamal
nothing
Murray
wrong.
hater.
That's the peak. I think that's fair.
We've seen
No one's gonna
kind of both
discredit
sides.
that.
That's what
So
I'm
you think you're getting all-star Jamal Murray?
I think in the playoffs he'll be better than what he is in the regular season. I don't know if he's giving you 28 because he's going to have his highs. He's
No,
gonna
just
have
like
his
24,
lows.
26.
You need him to give you 4 very good games to great games. And I
24
believe that he can
playoffs
do
is
that,
a lot.
especially in the first
My
round.
only issue with your guys' list, if you're going off faith and belief.
No, I'm going on something I saw when they steamrolled.
But that
them
was
in the
2
finals.
years ago.
With the same exact lineup, minus
But
Christian
Jamal's
Brown.
not the
Christian
same.
Brown can be better than what
Bruce
KCP
Brown
is.
was huge off the bench too.
Jamal's not the same. We have to acknowledge
that's the
that.
biggest difference between the two teams. Don't get me wrong.
And Jamal, he's not that guy that he was 2 years ago.
Jamal has 2 inefficient runs and 2 really high runs. So it's like
Well, his first run was his first or second year as a starter.
I thought he was really good that year.
And that was 2 series. 2 series.
I was just looking at the numbers. I ain't
Smaller run.
You understand what I mean, though, John?
14 games. It was more than last year.
And it's fine going off faith and belief, especially when it comes to basketball and playoff basketball. But when it comes to what we've seen the majority of the season for the Nuggets, especially in 2025, this defense has not been good.
It's been bad.
And it's been
Very bad.
really reliant on, please, Lord, let Jokic be this unstoppable force, which 10 out of 10 times he is.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's still not enough.
Your expectation is, because they've not been giving him a whole lot. I mean, you've been without Jamal Murray this recent stretch.
Yes.
I believe that they're saving it for the playoffs because when they won a championship in 2023, they were losing the Spurs and rookie Jeremy Shohan was cooking them. People are saying this is why Jokic is an MVP. They're trying to tarnish this man's reputation based off the way the Nuggets are playing in March. Now, I know this year the Nuggets have not been as good as the Nuggets were in 2023 through October to February. But even then, we tend to really overanalyze those March runs when we look at a lot of teams that are comfortable with their position and they move into the playoffs. They sit guys out. They get them right. They kind of take extra time to make sure they're 100%. I believe that a lot of people then are wrong about the Nuggets. And this year, they may not be wrong, but they're overlooking a machine which has been dominant offensively. And it took a T-Wolf team last year.
It's a machine that has
clicking.
one running part.
One running part.
Yeah.
2.
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon.
Okay,
Michael Porter
I'm leaving
Jr.
him open.
Christian Brown.
Michael Porter Jr.
This has been his best
Christian
season
Brown.
shooting the basketball.
Those 3 guys
It could be an
aren't
anomaly.
parts of that.
Still leave him
because the
open.
machine, the
Christian
offense,
Brown's been a dog.
The engine is Jokic, but those 3 players, AG, Christian Brown, and Michael
Christian
Porter
Brown's
Jr.,
playing better
I'm
than
expecting
KCP probably ever had.
He's playing well, but he's not getting the respect as a shooter, so they're leaving him
but
open.
he's also a lot more versatile defender.
No,
That's
he
what
is.
they need more of.
And now, John, I think you're making an excellent case for the Nuggets. All of our number 1 teams are
OKC.
pretty obvious. We're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about OKC when we get back.
We're going to take a brief stop in the show to acknowledge you. And by acknowledging you, we want you to acknowledge us by leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the page, and turning on the notification bell so you know when we drop our content. Again, we appreciate you, but we'd also appreciate it if you could show us some love.
OKC was all of our number 1 team in the NBA. We're not panicking, although this week might give you some cause to panic. They lost to the Lakers. They lost to the Rockets. They have a 9-12 record against the Nuggets, Mavericks, Rockets, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Lakers. Is this something? Is this nothing? Riv, I'll start with you.
I'm in the middle with it because I feel like people have put OKC as the clear favorite, and I think they've earned that. But I think people just think OKC is going to walk through the West, and I think that's something I've never really been on board with. I've looked at teams like Golden State. I look at teams like the Lakers, even Houston, Minnesota. I've talked about Minnesota being a tough challenge for them in the first round, and it's because of a record like that. You know, them struggling with teams in the West, the top of the teams in the West. And it's because the West is so good, because everything is matchup dependent in the West. And I think OKC, to their credit, though, they've been dealing with a ton of injuries. I think that's something where you probably have to look at all those games, see if Chet and Hartenstein played, or see if Chet played, if one of them played, one of them didn't. Because this team has been one of the most injured teams in the league, especially with their two bigs. But when you look at this team, you think offensively, there's a reason why SJ is going to win MVP. Is because he's been able to carry these primarily main defensive, lack of playmakers or initiators or, elite shooters on this roster. Like this team, if you look at this team, you're not grabbing anybody in the roster and thinking they're an elite shooter. No, you're thinking more streaky, guys who can hit the three ball, but nothing, consistent. And I think with SGA, his MVP case is primarily predicated on the fact that this offense is SGA or die. And I think defensively, this team has been so great. People have talked about Lou Dort, being in Defensive Player of the Year conversation. People talk about Chet's been a unicorn on defense, which he has been great. But specifically talking about those two games, Houston, Chet got bullied in that matchup, pretty bad on the glass, just between Steven Adams, Şengün. They were able to impose their will. And against the Lakers, I felt like OKC just felt a step slow defensively. Like just in terms of rotations, Lakers were able to get an open three after an open three after an open three off the glass or just in general. And it felt like OKC was just a step behind in that department. OKC plays them again tomorrow. So maybe they go out there and they wash the Lakers and we think nothing of it. But the NBA is about reactionary moments. The NBA is about in the moment vibes. And I think in the moment right now, people are feeling not off on OKC, but definitely a little bit sour. You played the number 2 team in the West record-wise. You go out there and you lose, and then you play the Lakers and you get dominated. So that's not and vice versa. We look at a team like Golden State who went out there, they beat the Lakers, they beat Denver. There was different conversations about them. And now Houston beating Golden State like it did last night. There's going to be different conversations about them this morning. So it really is just about what do you do in the moment. And I think OKC right now, they just fell into 2 bad games. Now, am I off on them? No, but I do think the record is a cause for concern. I think it's something you just keep your eye out on, something you notice of and like, all right, this is a team that struggled with teams in the West. We've saw them play Minnesota in their 3 to 4 matchups. Those are some tough games. We saw them play Houston. They've been playing Houston all year. Those have been some tough games. We saw them playing the Lakers. Those have been some tough games. We saw them playing Golden State. Those have been some tough games. So this isn't a team that just walks past the West. I think the West is extremely tough. And then you have a situation where Clippers, Minnesota, Golden State, they're all tied. In Memphis, they're all tied 6, 7, 8. You're praying for OKC. You play Memphis. That's the one team you've dominated the most out of all 4 of those teams. With the other 3, those could be fights.
I'm perfectly okay with OKC. Was I thrilled that we smoked them yesterday? Like cigar? Absolutely. Was I also thrilled that there wasn't that much of a whistle when we played them? Absolutely. Did we also shoot the lights out of the basketball? Probably the best that we have all season. One of the best halves we've had in our franchise's history with a record 15 threes and a half. Yeah, I think that also plays a part as to why we dominated them on all fronts. Do I still acknowledge OKC is one of the better defenses that I've ever seen in my life? Absolutely. Do I still acknowledge that they have the MVP on their team who has been one of the most overwhelmingly dominant guards I've seen in a single season in my life? Yeah, I can acknowledge that as well. Do I look at this record against these picked out, cherry picked teams? Shout out to Mikey because he actually put it so great. So the record was 9-11 against Denver, Dallas, Houston, Golden State, Minnesota. Against Atlanta, Cleveland, Dallas, Golden State, Houston, Pacers, OKC, Orlando, the Boston Celtics are 8-12.
Yep.
Do I have concern about the Celtics going to the finals? I don't. Personally, I don't. I think Boston goes to the finals. I think there'll be some fights. I think Cleveland gives them a fight. I think they go to the finals, though. I don't care about that record. Do I care that the Thunder have struggled against certain teams? I don't. I understand that to some it may be a big concern because the lack of consistency we've seen on the offensive side. And I know a lot of fingers get pointed at Jalen Williams. I know that he's usually the guy that gets a lot of criticism in those regards because there are moments where against the higher level teams that he hasn't always played up to par. Do I still acknowledge that this is still one of the deepest teams in the league, arguably the deepest team in the league? Absolutely. I'm not going to allow 2 losses towards the end of the season when they have nothing to play for. They are out there. They are getting run. It's not like they're sitting their guys. They're not. They're going out there and they're playing their guys solid minutes, but they already locked up the 1 seed. What are they playing for other than let's just stay warm? Let's try and play good basketball. If we win, we win. Cherry on top, gravy. It's nothing that they're playing for right now. If this were the conversation like we were having with the Nuggets, where John's trying to give them the out of, oh, it's March and they're playing for April, May, June. Well, that's different because they don't have a playoff spot locked. It's not signed and sealed that they have. OKC's had the 1 seed locked up. We're going on, 2 weeks? Something along those lines?
They're like 14 games ahead. There's no way that the second seed can catch up to them. I look at this record, I don't think it specifically means something, but OKC's problems are kind of on the forefront on offense. Defensively, they have a bunch of guys that scramble around. They lead the league in forcing turnovers per game. But on offense, outside of SGA, there's nobody else that I am scared of with the ball.
Damn, that's kind of an indictment on Chet, though, no?
I think it's a bit of an indictment on Chet. I think it's also an indictment on them having dribble drive creators. I mean, the Celtics, with them, it's Jaylen Brown and it's Drew Holiday and it's Derek White and
Jason Tatum.
It's Kristaps Porzingis in the post and Tatum. Yeah, he's their best player, but with the Thunder, I kind of don't feel that same way. Chet, I think, offers you defense that will always be elite.
Absolutely.
And so does J-Dub, but Chet is more of the anchor. J-Dub, I feel like he's just a tough shot maker on offense. He's not creating much separation. The finishing numbers really drop off with him. The offensive rating really drops off with him as well. If you look at the lineups with SGA and J-Dub on the court together, so J-Dub on the court has a 116 offensive rating in his possessions. Off the court, they have a 128.2 offensive rating. And I seen somebody quote tweet my tweet about it and say this is more of an SGA stat. So I wanted to filter out the possessions where SGA was off the court and he was on the court. So when Jalen Williams and SGA are off the court, meaning neither of them are on the court, they have a 120.2 offensive rating. When J-Dub is on, but SGA is off, they have a 109.8 offensive rating. So when SGA and J-Dub are both off, their offensive rating is 11 points better also when J-Dub is off as opposed to him on. And I think the lack of creation, the lack of shot making at the same efficient level that he had last year, and the tough shot making that he relied on is very tough to project in a playoff outlook. The only player I trust for OKC offensively in the playoffs is SGA. Everybody else to me is a question mark.
Well, I trust Hartenstein.
That's a fact. I get what he means, but
Hartenstein
I also get what you mean.
13 points.
It's just his role offensively.
As the connector, which is why I get what he's saying.
Yeah,
as a connector, finishing to the rim.
But for the most part, they're running plays through him so he could pass it to other
Dribble
players
handoffs.
to finish off the
that
play.
little float shot.
That floater is cash.
It does, but I just don't think if that's your second best offensive player, I feel bad about where OKC is in the playoffs.
I do think you brought up Boston, and that was Boston was an interesting point. As your phone goes off,
I got alarms to post clips. Sorry, King.
You brought up Boston. You brought up their 8-12 record, and shout out to Mikey because Mikey does a ton of research. I feel like bringing that up is irrelevant because you mentioned teams like Orlando.
Exactly, but the cherry pick stat was Dallas. One of them teams that are in the stat is Dallas.
They're 1-3 against Dallas this year.
Dallas,
but even not counting Dallas,
Dallas is a mismatch problem if they're healthy.
But you understand what I mean? It's like Dallas is not somewhere.
I don't think Dallas has a chance.
No. If they're healthy, I think they make that a 6-7 game series. They lose, but I think they make that a tough.
With no
challenge.
Kyrie.
No, I said healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, I said if they're healthy.
But Kyrie has like an ACL.
No, if they're
injury,
not healthy, they're irrelevant.
cooked.
But if they're healthy, I think they make it a tough challenge. But with the Boston stat, those are teams that are not good. Like with this stat, these are teams that are legitimately good. Like these are teams like we're talking about the Clippers. We're talking about Minnesota.
I got Cleveland here. I got Golden State. I got Houston. I got the Pacers.
I'm kind of wondering what happens when you load up on SGA, you double team his drives, you muck up the paint, and he has to pass to Isaiah Joe or Cason Wallace or Aaron.
Do you want to know the result that you get? If they're not hitting? Last year's series versus Dallas.
And that's what I'm worried about with them right now, is that there's not a ton of players that I have the utmost certainty that they're going to hit shots when it really matters.
And I get that reservation because last year that was the reason why they got eliminated in the playoffs. Cason Wallace got cold. It was his rookie season, first time being in the league and then first time being in the playoffs. I think Cason has gotten a lot better from last year. You get Alex Caruso. He's been in these high leverage situations as a role player, understanding the big moment. He's played in an NBA Finals. He's played meaningful games in the playoffs. I trust that Alex Caruso can adapt to the moment. You talk about those guys they had last year that struggled. J-Dub wasn't his normal self on a consistent basis. Lou Dort dropped off tremendously as a three-point shooter.
He shot 40% from three in the playoffs.
In that Dallas series, he shot well because they
Just
were
the
leaving
entire
him.
playoffs.
He's
always been good. They leave him open, but he's
the
always good.
Pelican series definitely made a lot of the J-Dubs, the Dort stat look a lot cleaner. But then you watch that Dallas series, and they're literally leaving him wide open, and they're begging Lou Dort to shoot. And that was one of the reasons why they lost the three-point shot, the wide open shots that they normally would make in the regular season last year. They didn't hit. So if that's your concern with them coming into this year, I get it. But I think defensively, they're better this year. And in due part of that is the addition of Alex Caruso and the addition of Isaiah Hartenstein. They have depth at the big position that when Chet's not on the court, you have to worry about Isaiah Hartenstein. When Isaiah Hartenstein's not on the court, you're dealing with Chet Holmgren. And then when it comes to their wing defenders, they have two of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and Alex Caruso and Lou Dort. So that's one of the main reasons you should still stay confident in them, because offensively, yeah, we may have some reservations about some of their role players, but all in all, they still have the most unstoppable guard in the league. We saw it last year when they were doubling. They were really trying to allow SGA to force anybody else to beat them. And he was making the pass, and it wasn't working out, but he still made his tough shots. He still was efficient.
So I ask you.
But I want them to win. Like SGA, he can be great, but
no, but the defense is
the goal
better
is
than
to
last
win.
year.
It is better.
By a lot.
I think the game plan they had against the Lakers this past Sunday was kind of dumb because they were doubling the ball instead of leaving their defenders one-on-one. And I think when you look at OKC out there, they have players that are tall, but they don't have real size.
Everybody doubles the Lakers, though.
But I don't think with their quality defenders, you're leaving yourself open to a ton of open threes. And that's why the Lakers, they barraged them, and that's unsustainable. But I thought the way they guarded them was sustainable because there's nobody else that you really have to worry about beating you off the dribble outside of SGA. And with the offense, I just go back to SGA is the only person that I can consistently trust to go get a basket. And I think this OKC playoff run hinges a lot on how good Chet and J-Dub are going to be. If they aren't the best version of themselves, I think that they can lose in the West. Not even just the NBA Finals. I think they could lose in the West. So for me, this is definitely something because the two games that stick out to me the most, you saw how the Rockets guarded them this past week and the Lakers, but also early in the season when Golden State played them, they didn't help off of anybody. SGA went for 50, and Golden State won the game. So there are just moments that it's just too SGA reliant, and that's why he's the MVP. Luka had a quote after the game against OKC, and he said SGA makes them look like a great team. He followed that up by giving OKC as a team their credit, but I think his sentiment...
He chose his word choice
his sentiment
wisely.
Is the same sentiment that I think a lot of players around the league feel about OKC. Yeah, they got SGA, but who else is going to really step up?
What was the question you were going to ask?
I asked, because you feel like OKC is the best team, and they've earned that right.
Still give my respect to my Lakers, but go ahead.
When you have guys that can go like band for band with SGA in the playoff series, but then there's other guys on the roster that, have more experience than J-Dub and Chet, are more seasoned, are better playoff risers at the moment.
Yep.
What are you expecting out of OKC?
I'm expecting that defense to stay consistent. That's really where I fall back to. There's no defense, but not on their level. They're the best defense by a wide margin. Their defense can translate to the postseason easily.
I think others can too.
But I'm not going to disagree with that point. But what does that have to do with the OKC falling off?
What I'm saying is, like, all right, let's use OKC and the Warriors. Let's use them for example. You have OKC's defense. OKC's defense is super elite. They've been that all year. Now you have a playoff series where you can sit down and you can actually schematically build up a scheme. Whose defense would you trust more? A defense led by Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler and Steve Kerr, or a defense led by Mark Daigneault and his crew? I'm taking into a playoff series.
With respect to the Warriors and what they've been and who Draymond and Jimmy Butler are, I'm taking Oklahoma City.
Oh, then yeah, we're not on the same page.
You would take Golden State?
Yeah.
Just a better game plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a better game plan, personnel-wise, and able to execute it. I think it's OKC, but Golden State probably would have a better game plan.
Not even close.
I just think OKC, like, This might sound harsh,
Like,
but
what was their game plan? I apologize, Joel. Go ahead.
this might sound harsh, but we had this conversation earlier about how this year's championship or bust. I don't necessarily think that, because I think they have a lot of years to figure this out. But I think, like, for Jalen Williams, I think this run is definitely it's make or break.
You don't almost win 70 games and we give you a fucking slap on the wrist for losing in the second round.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think if
No,
they
I
if
mean
they
that
lose,
in the grand scheme. Like, they're still championship or bust to me.
if they lose in the second round of the conference finals, I think there's serious talk about J-Dub getting traded.
If they lose in
J-Dub is still an elite defender.
if they lose in Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals against your Lakers, you would say they
No,
failed.
no. That's different. 7, you went Game
You
7,
said championship of bust.
but it's still championship or bust.
Well, so actually, if they lose Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals to the Lakers,
Yeah, no,
would
they
you say
failed. Yes. You don't win almost 70 games, and you're get them next year, champ.
I mean, they're gonna
Be there next year.
Part of that is also having somebody potentially available like Giannis. Like, if Giannis is available, I kind of don't think twice about it.
Of course.
J-Dub picks, give me Giannis.
I'm not even thinking about that.
Yeah, it's over.
But I also
Do you
want to
move
say,
J-Dub or Chet?
I move J-Dub.
Why?
Because Hartenstein is on a 2-year deal after this. Most of it is front-loaded.
But Chet's
he's
so
young.
far has
five
been
out.
unavailable.
But you could play 5 out with Chet.
But so far he's been unavailable.
Still, I think I would still go Chet.
Okay, so you would bank on the health.
I would bank on just him being a more impactful player than J-Dub.
But see, that's not what I'm asking you, because we can agree
And
Chet has a
stylistically.
higher ceiling for sure. Stylistically, he would probably look great next to Giannis. But J-Dub's more available. And that's been the worry with Chet so far in his career. He hasn't been as available.
J-Dub is more available, but OKC's 11-0 without him this year.
No, they're still. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, would you bank on trading J-Dub, the more available player, and just hoping Chet stay? Chet got hurt off a layup attempt this year.
I would rather keep
Because
Chet.
he missed 3 months because he got laid.
I would rather keep Chet, and I would trade J-Dub in picks.
Okay.
Riv, I think I'm stuck on the idea of taking Draymond and Jimmy and Kerr. I say that because off of history, of course, people are going to go out there and they're going to say, well, yeah, it's Draymond, it's Jimmy, it's Steve Kerr. Their track record speaks for themselves. But you have those two players. On the defensive side, how deep are we calling the Golden State Warriors?
They wouldn't need to go deep.
No, but I'm just asking, like, on the Warriors, like, objectively, how many strong defenders, and I'm using that word very carefully.
Draymond, Jimmy, Pods.
Yes,
Gary
100%.
Payne,
Yep.
Kuminga,
Yeah,
Pods.
Who?
Interesting.
Pods is a really good defender.
He said strong.
I think, yeah, he's a really good defender.
I'm choosing my word. Hey, if you
I'll
want to
say-
use
I'll
strong
say-
loosely, you
I'll
can do
say
that.
Dre, Jimmy,
100%.
GP.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Strong. Like,
So
great.
let's
to elite.
list the strong defenders on Oklahoma City. Okay. SJ is a strong defender.
Yeah.
Alex Caruso's a strong defender.
That's a fact.
Lou Dort is a strong defender.
That's a fact.
Chet Holmgren's a strong defender. Isaiah Hartenstein is a strong defender.
They have better personnel. We're
Now,
talking about game plan.
name a defender smarter than Draymond Green.
Smarter, of course.
Name a defender smarter than Jimmy Butler.
Well, you can argue Chet's on that. In terms of smart, Isaiah Hartenstein's incredibly high IQ.
Name a defender smarter than
No,
Jimmy
that's
Butler.
not Draymond.
Like,
See,
what are you doing?
But what kind of argument is that though? Smartness equates to
That's the
overwhelmingly
reason
team
Draymond
defense.
Green is one of the greatest defenders
And I'm not
ever.
taking that away from him, but you're using that to bolster up 3 players.
Well, I mean, 3 players has bumped us to like number 2 defense since they played.
But the thing is, that team minus, like he mentioned, Chet Holmgren, who has overwhelmingly been better than every team.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm with you. They were elite without Chet and J-Dub.
That's my
and Hartenstein.
point.
They've been great.
Yeah,
that is my
Caruso.
point,
But, like,
Riv.
but you're not listening. Regular season, like, you can be a great defense in a regular season just off playing hard. You don't have to build this great defensive schematic in a regular season. You can just play hard for 80 games and be a great defense, a good to great defense. In the playoffs, it's a different environment. It's a different vibe. That's something.
So players being smarter than everybody else makes or breaks.
They're
And
2 of like, the
OKC
guys
is historically giving us one of the best defenses we've ever seen.
in the regular season.
That's so interesting to me, Riv.
Draymond is historically one of the greatest defenders in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I'll never take that away from you. He's
Jimmy
one of the
Butler
best
has
defenders I've
given
ever
you
seen in my life.
historic playoff runs.
I think the
Interesting.
personnel is far better. I think the Thunder have a better defense.
Like,
They're
it's
deeper
not
for
close.
sure. They're deeper for sure. You would never. If we're talking about personnel and talking about deep, you got.
there's more moves on the chessboard that OKC can use at their disposal than Golden State.
I don't know. Like
Definitely
The
more.
versatility, they could play two bigs. If they play two bigs against you guys, now how are you guys getting to the basket?
well, ooh.
And then that's your kryptonite because now how are you guys?
Two bigs is only on kryptonite if you have an athletic big.
You wouldn't classify Isaiah Hartenstein as that?
Well, we just put him in every action.
And
He's not as versatile as AD. That was our problem.
Isaiah Hartenstein has shown to be one of the best defenders this year, though.
Yeah, but he's not as versatile as Anthony Davis.
No, how many are in the world?
Well, that was our only problem. Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Like any other time, we wouldn't have an issue. We don't even have an issue with Bam.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like and that's like versatile king. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all depend. Like you don't want to if you want to go big if you have an elite post up defender. But if realistically. OKC's probably going to go small against
well,
us.
Isaiah Hartenstein's an elite post-up defender. Wouldn't you argue?
That's what we don't like that. No, I'm talking about post-up score. That's what I'm.
Gotcha.
Post-up score. So like you would want to go small if you're playing Golden State, but you want to put out your best. Like OKC's probably going to go small against.
But they're
us.
naturally a big team.
They're big, but they're not big. Like SGA's skinny. Case Wallace is skinny. The only guy big is probably Lou Dort. You know what I'm
When
saying?
Chet is 5 out, it's a pretty small lineup.
Yeah, like they're not big.
Lou
No,
Dort
but
is
si-
6'3",
but-
J-Dub is 6'5".
SGA's 6'6".
Yeah, but then
But they're like the framework. They're not big guys.
who
you know what I'm
starts
saying?
if it's SGA, Lou Dort, and J-Dub out there on the court? Those are all players 6'6" or smaller. And then who's the other player on the court? Either Aaron Wiggins, who's 6'5".
Alex Caruso is a
6'5".
6'5".
He's the same height as Potts.
Yeah, so Chet is the only guy out there with like real size, but he doesn't have
And
the
Chet not
strength
bullying Draymond and
to
Jimmy.
bang. So I think that's where.
But are they? What does that even mean though? In terms of what offensively, you mean?
Like if you put Jimmy on Chet, you're not thinking about he can just overpower him. You know what I'm saying?
If you put Jimmy on Chet on defense,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but
he's just not gonna
in terms
overpower
of
him.
just put him in like you give Chet the ball in the paint in the post, he's
Go
gonna
ahead.
score right over
But
the
he's
top
not gonna
of him.
back
You have,
anybody down.
but see, Chet has to get position to do that. You have to have a type of strength to get in position to get that close to the
Chet's
basket.
not frail.
Jimmy is objectively stronger.
I'm not gonna disagree overly, but at the same time, we can't act like Chet
Jimmy
is
actually-
this.
He's not gonna back you down though. He's not gonna
That's not
back.
even his
He's not gonna
game.
back Draymond down.
But how often are we gonna ask Chet to be a post-up offensive player?
I feel like we're like going in circles here. I think the personnel thing is a valid point. I think Steve Kerr and being a better coach and having a better game plan, I think could be valid. I think Thunder is objectively a better defense. I've seen the comparison thrown around to Boston a lot about how people had the same type of energy for Boston towards the end of the season. The only difference, I think, is that Boston proved already they can go to the conference finals and the NBA finals multiple times already. I feel like with this OKC team, we're still waiting on them to get out the second round. Like, I don't think it's people overthinking OKC. I think it's that we just haven't seen it yet. Like, we saw Tatum get to the finals with the Celtics, and they didn't play their best on the big stage. We saw them go to the conference finals, and I felt like all of those battles led them to finally getting over the hump, but OKC hasn't had those same type of battles. For me, the defense is not my concern. It's offensively. Really, outside of SGA, anybody can have the ball, and I'm okay with it. Like, we can do anything around that.
See, but come playoff time, you know that ball is going to be in his hands.
But for the 8 minutes, if he's playing 40 minutes in a 48-minute game, for 8 minutes, that matters.
that's great.
Those are huge. Those are huge swings in games.
I get where you're coming
in the
from.
playoffs all the time.
I watched let me not say bad, because in 2023 they weren't a bad defense. They actually played pretty well. In the minutes that Jokic didn't play, those are the minutes that everybody says, although you got to win those. You got to win the Jokic-less minutes. And although they were few and far in between, it did not matter, because when he got back on that court, they were able to go out there and dominate. Now, you have something on the opposite side where now we have OKC. They're an overwhelmingly great defense. Yeah, their offense can be in question, but their defense is great with or without SGA on the court. It's their
That's
offense.
what holds them over. That's what holds them over.
Defense
but they're
in playoff situations is huge. It's a huge added
there's no
boost.
doubt, but I think the offense is kind of a concern.
With
is.
SGA on the court, I have no doubt.
With
No
SGA,
doubt.
I just feel like with SGA, it's he's been absurdly efficient this year, but I feel like with any player who relies on a high volume of drives and mid-range shot attempts, there is a certain level of variance there that you kind of have to be near perfect.
He
for that
was
to
near
balance
perfect in that Dallas series
And they lost in 6
because his supporting cast didn't help him out.
offensively.
Agreed.
So on the court offensively,
But
they
their
didn't play
defense
great
is not
offensively.
as good as it was last year to this year.
But their defense was still great. Luka had a not so good
100%,
series.
but they did not have depth at the big position. And I watched Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford really overpower Chet Holmgren.
But my thing is, how does that help them on offense?
That's not my question, though. Because
My question is offense.
no, I understand that, but if that's the question when they still been a top 5 offense all year, and defensively they've been number 1 the entirety of the season, I can't look at a series where now they're better than they were defensively, which will hold them over in the SGA list minutes. If SGA is going to be out there on the court, you're good offensively.
Well, in the Maverick series, he was out there and they weren't good offensively.
But that's where I'm adding the point of their defense wasn't this.
Yeah, but I think the offense.
They
is still
didn't
gonna
have the
matter.
versatility that they
I
had
think
on the
whether or
defensive
not
side.
the defense improved this year, I think the offense is still going to be a major part.
And the
in them
three-point shooting is
making
better
it-
this
making
year
it
than
to
it
the
was
finals
last
and
year as
potentially
well.
Winning. But I think
Casey Wallace is better this year than he was last year.
well, he shot great last year, and then he
Not in
didn't
the
shoot well in the
postseason,
postseason.
100%.
And that's the thing is like a lot of these players haven't translated yet.
It's again, if your only concern is experience, shake my hand right now. There's no point to talk
Oh,
about
my
this.
concern is the offense. That's my concern.
But they've been
'Cause
an
we've
amazing offense all season
Because
long.
we've seen matchups like this matchup against the Lakers where once you hone in on SGA and you leave people open and you force other people to make plays, they're not able to make plays. We've seen games
I
like
just
this.
can't talk about a game when it comes to OKC when they have
It's not
the
just one
seed
game. What
locked.
about Golden State? He had 50 and they lost. That was before they had the 1 seed locked.
I get where you're coming from in that regard, but again, we've seen moments where the best teams, they slip up and they lose. OKC has been the overwhelmingly best team in the league. And the one team that I have the belief in them to I have real faith that they can beat them in the Boston Celtics. The 2 times they've played them, OKC has done whatever they wanted.
I think that is the saving grace for them in the finals. The matchup against Boston, they've matched up very well against them because Jaylen Brown just doesn't have a mismatch he can attack in that series because everybody's a great defender. And that's where he gets most of his buckets. And that's why in the series against Cleveland, I think he'll be at his best because he'll be able to hunt down Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, smaller players. But offensively, I do trust Boston to hit more shots.
See, but like offensively, wouldn't you assume that the OKC Thunder would struggle against the Celtics? Like you would assume that. Hasn't been the case.
Chet was unbelievable the last matchup.
He should be.
Yeah, with J-Dub didn't play in that game, and he was unbelievable.
Wait, why do you think Boston stylistically should struggle?
'Cause of their defense.
OKC stylistically should struggle
Because
with
their
Boston.
defense, the versatility they have on the defensive side of the ball, the fact that they have perimeter defenders,
They
the
just
fact
can't
that
guard
they have
SGA. That's really what it comes down to.
who can is
they
my
ha-
point.
But I
If
feel
I'm not
like
mistaken, Boston struggles with shifty guards.
no doubt, Donovan Mitchell, case in point,
SGA is a shifty guard.
And
no
also,
doubt.
like,
but
and
who
also-
has stopped SGA? Is my question.
the second matchup, they got a great version of Chet. If Chet averages 20 in the playoffs,
Aren't you a
this
check
is
guy
nothing.
though? So what's
Yes.
the concern?
because I don't know if he can do that.
I'm not even trying to make a
consistently.
joke. I'm being dead serious.
Yeah, I don't know if he can do that
Yeah.
consistently yet. I don't know.
That is a problem.
That is, I don't know. It's the same thing with J-Dub. I don't know. Like, I think that's the thing with OKC is that offensively, I think there's 2 of their 3 best players that are kind of I don't knows. I'm expecting
And
Chet
is
to
Chet
play really
only
well.
an I don't know because of health?
No.
Interesting.
It's just based on the role that they ask him to play. There are some times where he's spotting up
I'm not disagreeing.
6-7 times a game and he hits like in the playoffs. He shot 22% from 3.
But there should be moments where you should give the ball to Chet, and you should anticipate he can get his. Correct?
that's been at their best, yes. And I feel like there's been games this year where the SGA list minutes and running the offense through Chet and a double big lineup have been very helpful for them. I just think my biggest concern is really J-Dub when he initiates offense because he's a tough shot guy. He's not creating advantages and creating consistently open shots for his teammates. He's kind of getting himself stuck in the mid-range and settling for a jumper. And those are objectively bad shots. Those are bad shots that he hits sometimes, but compared to last year, he's not hitting them at nearly the efficiency that he hit him last year. And I think that's a problem because the ball can stop with him sometimes and he takes bad shots.
I think also when we've seen Chet back, we've seen J-Dub be more efficient. I think a big part of that last year, why J-Dub was so efficient, was because he was not the number 2 guy on a consistent basis. He was getting better looks. We've seen it now with Chet back into the lineup. He has been better. Not last night. I'm not going to say that he was good, obviously. He definitely did struggle. But for a majority of Chet being back, we've seen J-Dub elevate. I get where you're coming from because last year obviously is a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. That being said, SGA is so overwhelmingly great. And we know this. I'm not saying you don't know that because obviously he was great last year. I think the difference now is you should be able to rely on Chet. You should be able to on the offensive side. And so long as Chet is there, you should get an improved J-Dub. Yesterday was a bad game for him. And that's been some moments of him against the best competition. But we haven't really seen that often while Chet's been back.
My only thing is that I really think that if one of the three struggle, it's going to be very hard for them to win the finals this year.
SGA, I'm 10 out of 10 confident he's going to dog.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's carrying.
He was easily the best player against that Dallas defense.
So you think OKC walks past the West?
No. I respect my Lakers.
Like how many? Well, outside of Lakers, you think they walk past the West?
They don't walk past Golden State either.
No, I think they win against. Theoretically, they should be favored to come out. It's simple as that. Theoretically, they should be favored to come out.
Like how many games do you think they'll lose in the first two rounds?
In the first round, max one. In the second round, 6-game series. If it's against the Warriors, 7-game series, that gets muddy because Game 7, Steph, I respect and acknowledge him. I don't think it goes 7. I would take OKC in 6. Against the Lakers, you can't ask me that because I'm a Lakers fan. I'm just going to be honest with you. I can't be objective.
Wait,
there.
so you think first round, one game, whether it's Minnesota, whoever, it's one game?
It's one game.
Okay.
No, I don't.
So
if it's Minnesota,
let me ask you a
that's
question
6.
because you talked about OKC and Boston. Based off those two matchups, you're very comfortable with OKC. OKC really giving Boston.
You would take
fits.
Boston.
No,
in that series.
I'm taking Boston.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're comfortable in that OKC can go in there and they could put up a strong fight.
No, against who?
Boston.
Oh, yeah.
So why would you think it'd only be one game if they play like Minnesota?
Because they're better than Minnesota.
But it's based off the way they've played. You don't expect that to be like a dogfight.
I don't because then we're also relying on Julius Randle to be
well in those games.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
They play them really tough though. Minnesota plays
Even
them
without
extremely tough.
Randle, they play.
I acknowledge Anthony Edwards. I'm not trying to say that to discourage or to belittle what he is. Obviously, he's overly impactful. We saw how great he was last year's playoffs. The team, there's just something that I still can't trust offensively on a consistent basis. And in due part, that's probably because of Julius Randle stuck in my head of what I've seen from him in the past.
That's fair.
And they still don't have a true legitimate one.
I'll say this. I think
And going up against OKC, that's an issue.
I think
Legitimate one meaning like point guard,
Correct.
or playmaker. So I thought you meant like as a number one option.
Oh my god, no.
Because that's what you said.
he's about to attack the shit out of you.
And that would obviously be wrong.
Yeah, I'll say
Yeah,
this.
no, that's
If
fine,
that's
'cause
how you took it,
it's Anthony
Edwards.
Edwards. Yeah.
OKC has lost like one game against the East, which probably gives them like 35 wins on most of their wins. When a team tells you who they are throughout the regular season, believe them. That's how.
But it doesn't sound like you believe that.
That's how I feel. No, that's my belief in saying I don't think OKC walks past anybody. I think
These matchups have been tough.
These matchups have been extremely tough. Like I don't know how you can watch these matchups and assume that they can just walk past these. Like these are legit, extremely tough matchups that a lot of these teams have a scheme for that have worked. And this is not a team that can just say, "Oh, we're coasting for the playoffs." No, you haven't won anything. You can't coast for anything.
Bro, they're 13 games up.
And they took that Lakers game hard. They took that Houston game hard.
No doubt, but
So I don't like.
Yeah, I don't know if they checked out against.
And
those
there's a
teams.
trend where you see Boston streaking at the right time, and they're playing their best basketball now. They won a championship.
SGA was in the third quarter, like down 20, still trying to get back in
it's
the game.
the third quarter, of course.
I mean,
You're
you
not
want to go
giving
into the
up.
playoffs hot. You want to go into the playoffs with a good rhythm. Boston is showing you a team with experience, a team that's won championship.
Denver Nuggets didn't win shit, right? They didn't win shit in 2013, 2023. They were dog shit for their standards in March, right? They
Yes.
weren't that good in March.
Yes.
Did that matter come playoff time? Come playoff time, did it matter at all? No.
I don't think the playoff landscape.
They
is as
had
good
nothing.
then.
Nothing.
They still
But
had
they
a-
went to the WCF fair.
They
Of
still
course,
had a
that's
tough
2020.
first round series against Minnesota.
They won in 4 games?
Five.
No,
Five,
not
excuse
five.
me?
It was
Oh, sorry, I
five.
didn't mean to disrespect your glorious
almost
king.
went
Yeah, it was
6.
five, it was five.
Anthony Edwards missed the game winner.
They had a tough series against Phoenix. That went 6.
Tough. They won every game by double digits. It did go 6
Didn't the
Outside
Suns
of the
win
two
every game
games
by
they
double
lost.
digits when they won?
against them.
The Suns only
the
had
two
like
games.
2 players in that series too.
But my whole point being is, it went 6. The games they won, It was overwhelming.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I don't think
they swept us.
I think this playoff landscape is objectively much better than that playoff landscape.
By far.
I'm with you.
I think this, like, every team 1 through 8 is tough. Is tough to face. They have certain things stylistically, like a series against Houston. That's very tough. They don't have the offense to compete with OKC because their offense is
they won't play Houston
average
until
at best. But,
WCF if they make it.
Houston, like, they play them tough, and you're right, they are the second seed, so they wouldn't play each other.
But the
unless they
Houston
make the
Rockets have
conference
played
finals.
everybody tough.
But like the first round matchup could be Minnesota, the Clippers, Denver. Best case scenario is it's Memphis. That's the best case scenario. But
yeah, they've dogged them all year.
It could be Denver. It could be LA. It could be like this last week in the conference. In the conference, it's crazy.
You can't sell me on them beating the Clippers or Minnesota in 4 or 5 games.
I'm not saying they're sweeping either of those teams.
You can't even sell me on 5. If you tell me we're all in belief, not belief, but we're in the belief Kawhi's healthy, right? You're not selling me on them beating them in 5 games. I get it. They're gonna win 70 games or whatever it is. I get it. They've been dominant all regular season.
They can't win.
Well,
70.
they've won 65 plus games. They've been dominant all regular season. They have shown you all year that they struggle. Let me rephrase.
I was going to say,
me
whatever
rephrase.
you're going to say might not be true.
Well, I mean, they're under 500.
I think
but
this is a big year for
okay,
they've
but that
shown
against
you,
what? Against Dallas?
I mean,
I told you the stats already when in reference to the Celtics. That shit doesn't matter.
But you take.
I mean, it matters to a degree.
But you take the Dallas games out of it. Dallas, they're 3-1 against OKC.
So they're
OKC is
7-9.
9-12 against Denver, Dallas, Houston, Golden State, Minnesota, and Lakers. So if you take Dallas out of it,
8-9.
OKC is 8-9 against Denver, Houston, Golden State, Minnesota, and the Lakers. They're 1-1 against the Lakers, 2-2 against the Timberwolves, 1-2 against the Warriors, 3-2 against the Rockets. No chat for the first loss. The other loss was that loss was a 3-point loss, and they're 2-2 against the Nuggets. They're 1-3 against the Mavericks. That's the team that they struggled with the most. But the Mavericks are pretty irrelevant to the playoff landscape at this point. But they're 8-9 though against these other teams though.
I read you guys the list of teams that the Celtics have a similar record to.
Who? Read it again, please. I'm sorry.
But these are. But I don't think that matters to this conversation.
But the
because
point
these
is,
are
you
Western
guys are
Conference teams.
But we don't worry about the Celtics.
They won a championship.
I agree with that.
So OKC shouldn't be worried about the Lakers or Golden State.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well,
They have Cleveland in here, right? Do I worry about Cleveland versus the Celtics? Personally, I don't.
I'm sure Boston
and that's
does.
that's their toughest out in the East.
That's the only person. That's the only team realistically. Indiana's in this. Do I have concern about Indiana versus them?
No,
I don't.
you take the Celtics, but
The Celtics
they play well
overwhelmingly
stylistically.
better.
Yeah,
But
they have more
that series
talent.
is still going to be tough, probably.
But my point being is, that's Cleveland, that's Indy. Those are their 2 marquee matchups in the Eastern Conference.
But those aren't the Lakers.
But
and
why aren't the Celtics on this list?
Because they won a championship.
No. As in the teams that they struggle against. Like, why aren't they in the list? Because they
won
beat them.
a championship.
Well, it's
But
obvious.
that's not what I'm saying.
It's obvious why they're not on the list
because they beat them.
No, it's because it's cherry picked. This is
Oh
cherry
yeah,
picked.
I know.
This is cherry picked.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's the case.
It is.
No, that's
it is
cherry picked.
It is cherry picked.
Yeah, you're cherry picking because we don't give a fuck about games against the
I
Blazers
mean,
and stuff.
it is cherry picked, but I mean, to be objective, like the Dallas games, I don't think they matter. They're 8-9, and I just read you the records. They're 2-2 against the Nuggets. I think matchups against the Nuggets matter personally. They're 3-2 against the Rockets. I think those
That's
matchups
gonna
matter. They're 1-2 against the
If
Warriors.
they match up, it's in the WCF, and we're taking OKC.
I mean, of course.
Straight face me and say you're taking
you're not
the
understanding
Rockets.
the
Houston made it to
conversation.
the WCF. A lot of shit went their way.
Okay, what does that still have to do with that matchup?
That's what I'm saying. If Houston finds a way in the Western Conference,
You would take the Rockets over
No way.
OKC.
I wouldn't, but a lot of something happened.
No way.
So you would take them over them?
No way.
No, but something happened.
But
So the next name.
1-2 against the Warriors matters. 2-2 against
Apparently it
the Timberwolves,
doesn't.
it matter. 1-1 against the Lakers, it matters.
Probably
like, I
doesn't.
think it does matter.
1-1.
Like, I think the regular season matchups do matter to an extent. That's like saying the Celtics and the Cavaliers, what they did in their matchups, they didn't matter.
So then
I think they do matter.
So it matters because that matters. It matters that they're 2-0 versus Celtics.
yes.
Cool.
The Thunder.
Okay, so yes.
Right? It should matter.
It
We
matters if I
definitely
how
look
they
at those
match up
games
with
like,
them.
all right.
Facts.
We definitely did.
Who's our title favorite?
They mattered.
Who's our title favorite?
It's Boston or OKC. They're favored to make the NBA Finals.
He would take OKC over Boston.
What I'm saying, right now I'm kind of hell bent on it. The way
I'm
Boston
gonna
is
say,
playing,
come on.
the way Boston,
You know what? I can't.
the way Boston is
Never
playing,
mind.
they kicked it up to a different gear to end the year that I feel like I can't ignore.
Boston's a perfect team.
And they were coasting for most of the year, so that's tough.
They're a perfect team.
but I think all these matchups do matter though. Like I think they matter more than the Celtics playing the Kings. Like I think they do matter more.
I don't disagree there. I just strongly feel that you say trust who they've shown you to be all season. I will do that. I trust that SGA is going to go into any series. He's going to be SGA.
With you.
I trust that they who statistically have been, and just watching the game, the best defense in the league from start to finish.
That's a fact.
One of the best defenses we've ever seen.
Yep.
Statistically.
That's a fact.
I'm going to trust that. I think
you're gonna trust the 8-9 too or no?
so. Are we going to trust the 8-12 versus for the Celtics?
Sure, let's do it for the champions.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, because that does you comparing a team that has won a championship that has already been
And
through
I
the
brought
grind,
up the Denver Nuggets. Did I not?
We talked about 2 years ago.
I think
Is that not fair?
I don't know their
a
record
Celtics
against the top
comparison-
team, so I can't.
a
But they
Celtics
played bad in March.
Well, I'm just talking about the 8-9 record.
Yeah, I think against these teams matter. Like the Celtics record against the Cavaliers, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks collectively is like the equivalent to OKC.
Like they played Minnesota, for example. They're 2-2. That matters because they're gonna potentially play
The
them in the
Hawks
first
were in
round.
this. I should care about that.
They might not make the play-in, so maybe
They
not.
are in the play-in.
I'm saying they might not make it out the
because
play-in,
what did the
so maybe
Celtics?
not.
The Celtics did they beat?
But right
or they
now,
tied?
7 and 8 are the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies, right? So I guess by that logic, they might not play the Timberwolves. They might not play the
Atlanta's
Grizzlies.
like 10?
Say that one more time.
they like the 10
No,
seed?
they're 8 because 7
They're eight?
right now.
Oh, I
Or
thought
they're 7 or 8 because I know it's the
7?
magic in them.
Oh, I thought they were 9.
What the Celtics have? They split with the Cavaliers this year.
2-2.
and 2.
Yes.
They split. They swept the Knicks. You know, and I
I think
think
they swept the Bucks.
yeah, the Bucks they probably beat a couple times, and the Pacers. I think their record against those teams is kind of the equivalent of OKC's record against the Lakers, Minnesota, Denver, and Golden State. I think that's the equivalent. Like,
But then-
the teams are gonna have to play.
Yeah,
in the
but like
playoffs.
it doesn't. I get that. And if the difference between holding weight on that is because again we've seen that just because you won the championship last year doesn't necessarily mean that gives you the free will to play a certain way the year after. Case in point, the Denver Nuggets last year.
look at their
They
record
weren't that great last year, or they weren't as good as they were the year prior. We all overlooked it because hey, they're the champs, they're Denver, they have the best player in the world, and then they ended up choking it in Game 7 to the Timberwolves. That's the only reason why I can't. I have the Celtics as the best team. Absolutely. I am also on the side of neither of those two records that I spoke about. They don't matter to me because I know who these two teams are.
Last year they won more games than the year they won the chip.
And were they better than the year before?
No.
Okay.
They lost in 7 games. Last year they played Minnesota in the second round. We could argue Minnesota's probably better than the Suns, who they played in during the finals.
Oof.
During the finals run.
I don't know.
Because the Suns were hurt, I guess.
Were they better than the Lakers?
That's probably the one team I would say no. But that went 7.
I think the whole point though is that
Stylistically, they matched up much better than you guys.
I think the record that you mentioned, like it was a good analogy because they were both like clearly cherry picked things, but
That's the only reason I bring it up.
I think that like if it was OKC's record against like teams that didn't matter,
I brought
it'd be
teams
more
that
important.
mattered, though.
But the overall record was against like the Kings and Blazers and who else was in there
Mine for them?
for the Celtics.
Oh
like,
no!
Celtics record.
Oh no! I brought up Atlanta,
Okay.
Cleveland,
Okay.
Dallas, who was also mentioned in the one that we spoke about, Golden State, Houston, Indiana, OKC, and Orlando. Orlando and Atlanta, if it's fair game, it's fair game.
There are like 3 teams in there that don't matter. I think for
I don't
OKC,
disagree.
there's only like the Dallas thing is the only one that doesn't matter to me. They're 8 and 9 though against those. I think the versus the same teams.
Does it matter versus Houston? To you guys, because I respect Houston.
The
but
Celtics.
No.
Celtics
Houston
losing
has
or
beaten.
OKC.
And that's my thing with Houston. They've beaten OKC.
100%.
They've beaten Cleveland. They've beaten Boston.
So why are
all the,
people
all
low
the,
on them?
all the numbers will point to Houston being like a good.
We have to
playoff
respect
team.
them.
I respect
But
it.
All right.
I'm still doubting them. I have to see it.
So it doesn't matter. Houston, we shouldn't care about in the OKC's record of losing, correct?
You should care about it a little bit, but no,
you get hit,
like
not
really not much. No, but they're 3-2 against the Rockets. So if you take the Mavericks and the Rockets out the equation, 8-9 then goes to 6-7.
It's just a stupid like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying like that is so stupid.
Versus the same teams, the sample size that OKC played: Denver, Dallas, Houston, Golden State, Minnesota, Lakers. Denver's 10-11. Dallas is 9-12. Houston is 9-10. Golden State is 10-10. Minnesota's 12-10, and the Lakers are 9-8. So the Lakers, Minnesota, and Lakers and the Timberwolves are only two teams that have a winning record against the teams within the same sample size of them. I definitely think it matters for the Lakers. Like the Lakers are a team that,
of course, that's the team that I think can challenge them the most. in my
yeah, the
opinion.
Lakers and the Warriors are the two teams that I think can
acknowledge
challenge
them
them
as
the most.
well.
But I think those matchups against the playoff teams matter. I think all in all, I just go back to the offense. I think this is a huge year for J-Dub and Chet both to showcase their offensive skills.
I get where you're coming from.
Because we know how great they are defensively. It's just if they lose, it's not going to be because of the defense pointing it out. It's going to be because the people around SGA didn't do enough to help uplift him in those moments. It was a reason why they lost against Dallas last year. And when it's your first time in the playoffs, I mean, sometimes people are great in the regular season and it doesn't translate. The sharpshooters like Joe Harris was great for the Nets and he couldn't hit a 3-point shot. You know, is that going to be Chet? I don't think so, but I just think that's the thing I'm worried about the most is just the possessions on offense, not even the non-SGA lineups, but the possessions on offense where 14 seconds into the shot clock, SGA picks up his dribble at the free throw line and he's seeing two bodies and he's passing it out to an Aaron Wiggins and Aaron Wiggins then kicks it out to J-Dub and now J-Dub has like 8 seconds to create something. Those are the moments where
8 seconds is a decent amount of time.
But 8 seconds, those are the moments offensively that I'm worried about. When the ball is outside of SGA's hands, who else can do something to threaten the defense that makes you play a different way?
I'm just going to counter by saying if Chet can't do that, it's an indictment on him. Yeah. I'm going to say that because a lot of finger pointing gets toward J-Dub, even though he's the most available out of the two. Not enough finger pointing is getting put at the number 2 overall pick. That is all I'm going to say. I think Chet is a great player, but a statement like this is not as much of an indictment on J-Dub as it is on Chet Holmgren. That is my opinion. Oh, no, I get where you're coming from. I don't disagree, but the expectation is for Chet to ascend to, they said, oh, Chet Holmgren has top 5 upside. Chet Holmgren is a top 10 player upside. If that's the case, I can hear where you're coming from. He has tools.
His upside is there, but I think offensively, you're looking for your guard to initiate more.
I mean,
like you're looking for J-Dub to take somebody off the dribble more so than you're looking for Chet. Like I think
he hasn't been the 50-40 he was last year, but 46, 37, 36.
I think Chet is
not bad.
I think Chet is more so the floor spacer in the dynamic of the two. I think it runs through SGA and then it runs through J-Dub. He's like the second guy that gets the ball, but I still think both of them should play well.
I agree.
If Chet
all three should play well.
If Chet isn't at his best, hitting his open shots, that's an indictment on him. Like in J-Dub, if he's not great,
because Chet wasn't that great in the playoffs.
But no, I do think this record is something. I think it's something. The way they've struggled against the Lakers and the Warriors.
We'll see.
I think it's something.
Interesting. Where if you used to be an OKC guy, you were right, Joel.
I'm an SGA guy. SGA guy for sure.
Interesting. So the best season in Oklahoma City's, I guess, existence.
I'll say
this is the lowest we're on them?
This probably would be it. Or
it's not that you take it as I'm low on them as more of I'm just high on the West. I don't think
I acknowledge the West too. I acknowledge what they've done.
I've never said they can't beat none of these teams. I've never said I wouldn't take OKC against any of these teams. So I don't know why you said that.
But that's just such a broad thing to do. What are you standing on exactly?
I just don't think it would be a walkthrough. That's it.
That's what you're standing on?
That's what I said 5 times.
Interesting.
That's like literally what I said.
So them winning, all in all, your statement was, hey, I was right. It wasn't a walkthrough if that's the case.
I wasn't even, what am I right about?
That's what I'm wondering.
Like you said, you said it would be, they'll lose 1 game max in the first round. That was my only pushback. I just don't think it'd be a walkthrough.
I mean, if it's the Grizzlies, you believe that wholeheartedly, correct?
Yeah, that's
what it currently is.
That's the biggest like fraud.
But that's what it currently is.
Well, yes and no.
Because the 8th seed right now is them.
Well, we have a play-in, so the currently doesn't work like that.
All right, so let's say let's say
The Kings. and the
right? No,
Mavericks.
let's say it's the Kings or a banged up Mavericks.
No, yeah, but
4 or
but
5 games. Are you still off that?
But the
Well,
differential.
the Kings
because
and
they're
the
the
Mavericks.
1 seed. We
Kings-
have to understand 1
the Kings
seed.
and
They're
the
not going up
Mavericks
against no
suck.
Timberwolves. They're not going up against the
They
Nuggets
could,
in round
though.
1.
They could dead play the Timberwolves.
Okay, so the Timberwolves are going to lose.
They could lose a 1-game.
Who's better,
playing game.
Timberwolves or Grizzlies?
The Timberwolves are better, but
Timberwolves
they
are
could
better.
lose a 1-game playing
Right
game.
now, what separates the 8th and 3rd seed in the West is like
It's
a
nothing.
game and a half.
No,
No, it's
third
nothing.
seed.
They're all
no,
tied.
No, it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are tied.
It really just depends on how the bracket shakes out.
Yeah, we
Because
sound
the
silly
Lakers,
talking about
the
that,
Lakers,
right?
I think, have the best schedule.
I don't think it's
The
silly when
toughest
you
schedule.
understand who's good and who's the frauds.
The only fraud is Memphis, and
Exactly the point. But they're 8.
But they're not really 8, dude. As a matter, like they're not really 8.
it might not end like that.
what are
But you
talking
understand
about?
if they are. But
If it happened today,
let me ask
you're
you
right.
a question.
We're not making
Who do
sense,
we
bro.
anticipate to be 8?
We
Let's
don't know.
Answer
we really
the
don't
question.
know.
We don't know anything about April, May, or June. We know nothing, but we're talking about it.
Bro,
Make a guess because that's what we're doing.
We don't know.
Make
I
a guess
don't
who's
know.
going to be 8.
I don't know.
You're going to not answer that? You said what's
don't
the
know.
point of talking then?
Drew.
Okay.
I don't know.
This is the.
All right, I'll ask you because I think you have a good chance to answer.
I think
Who would you
Memphis
say
is the
would be
biggest
8?
frauds.
You would have them be 8, right? Just
Yes,
guessing.
but I think schedule matters.
What
And
do you
they
mean?
play.
You don't even know the schedule. What's
next
the
game
schedule?
they play the
asking you the
Hornets.
question: who is the worst team of the bunch?
Just because they're the worst team doesn't mean they're gonna fall to
What if
8,
they go
bro.
3-1?
All right,
They can do it.
Okay.
And so their
All
remaining
right.
schedule is
What are we talking
The
about?
Lakers
Hornets?
play Golden State and the Warriors to end. Golden State and the Rockets, right?
the Thunder, right? Too. I think.
Thunder
Next-
tomorrow.
Thunder tomorrow.
So this is the Grizzlies' final 4 games.
But the
This is
Lakers
cool.
will probably be third.
So the Grizzlies' final 4 games are the Hornets, Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Mavericks. I think that's like 2-2 if I'm just being nice. Minnesota
Hornets, Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Mavericks for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
2-2. The Timberwolves are the Bucks, Grizzlies, Nets, Jazz. I think that's 3-1.
Okay, interesting.
I think they have a really easy schedule. Golden State is, the Clippers are the Spurs, Rockets, Kings, Warriors. This is like 2-2.
That's a good matchup.
Yeah, this
Strong
is tough.
matchups.
Golden State's is the Suns, Spurs, Blazers, and Clippers. I think they probably have the easiest path to like going 3-1 because Suns, Spurs, Blazers, they should all beat them. And then last game of the season, the Clippers can be a lot of high stakes.
And it's also you have to factor in tiebreaker. Who has the tiebreaker? Who ends up tied?
Denver is playing the Kings, the Grizzlies, and the Rockets.
Clearly, right now, who has tiebreaker over everyone, or who does not have the tiebreaker over everyone, is the Grizzlies.
No,
But the
Because
Lakers
they're
are
all
Memphis-
tied.
Memphis
They're
beat
all
Minnesota
tied,
twice.
and they're 8th.
the Grizzlies.
No, Memphis beat
Lakers.
My
bad.
point is, they're all tied, and they're 8th.
the Lakers are 2 games ahead of the 8th seed.
Yes.
so
Yeah,
they
but you
they
got
have a cushion.
Clippers and Warriors play
5
soon,
and 8
then Minnesota
is
and Memphis
tied
play soon.
together.
So that can change. That's why I'm saying you have to wait. I can't give you a prediction today. I
But
can't.
my point being
like-
is, if you had to assume, because who's the worst of
You
the
probably
group,
would assume it's the
like you
Grizzlies.
can't
No,
make an answer on that.
No, I cannot because
Is that
they-
because you've had the Grizzlies as your dark horse to go to WCF? Is
they
that
weren't
why?
really my dark horse? Like I gave like a really nasty scenario. I don't know why.
The
they keep
Lakers'
saying that,
final
but
4 is
yeah,
the
okay.
Thunder, Mavericks, Rockets, and Blazers.
Well, I think the
that
Lakers
could be
are
like
third.
3-1
The Lakers
too.
are going to be third seed.
Yeah.
That's one thing I
us
can for
us
sure
beating
guarantee.
OKC was enormous for that.
Yeah, so I
We've been
think
what, we're 4-1 in our last
gosh,
5.
let me
We're
try.
5-5 in our last 10.
yeah.
The tough games we've handled outside of Golden State.
Yeah, so I think pretty much the Lakers are pretty. I think they'll be the 3rd seed, and really the toughest schedules I think are the Clippers.
Clippers are
and
not
the
that bad. The way they've been
Nuggets.
playing.
The Clippers have the Spurs, Rockets, Kings, Warriors.
Spurs,
Three
Rockets,
play-in
Kings,
teams.
Warriors. Mhm.
Yeah, and Denver.
Rockets and Warriors will be tough. It depends what
Denver
happens.
is Kings, Grizzlies, and Rockets. That's if I think that should be 2-1, if not 3-0. Like if they take care of business, but you know what Denver's kind of
They've
been
been
on
playing with their
recently.
food.
But yeah, I think no. I mean, if you were to assume, you probably do assume Memphis is number 8.
All I
right?
was asking.
Because even if they get the 8th seed and then they play whoever's at 7, I think you probably think whoever's at 7 would beat them.
That's really it. That's what I was asking. So I'm glad I got an answer.
Yeah, no, it's the Grizzlies. I mean,
I don't think so. Like,
OKC
I think
doesn't have anything to worry about.
it
against
could
Memphis.
legitimately be the Timberwolves. It could be the Clippers. Like it can be any one of
It
those
could
teams.
be. It could
like,
be.
Yes,
Yeah, it
the
could be.
Grizzlies are the worst team out the bunch.
Oh, I got an answer.
I won't disagree
Nice.
with you there.
Huge.
But like regular season wise, like they can literally be 7th. And we're sitting
With the
there
way
like, fuck.
Ja's been playing, maybe they go 3-1.
Yeah,
It
I
could
mean,
happen.
like unless Jaron Jackson, ascends and we get him back and he's the best player in the team.
They would
then
have
you
to be
get
the
that back.
6th seed,
You know what I'm
though.
saying?
They would
Like, I
have to
don't
be the
think
6th seed.
like to ask me that today in
All I asked you was to make an educated guess.
I don't want to guess.
You watch enough basketball that you can
I'd
do.
rather-
What we're doing is guessing. The whole segment we just had was guessing.
Not
You
necessarily.
understand that?
We were analyzing.
And I was asking you to analyze on who's going to be the 8th seed.
Couldn't tell you.
So you're choosing to be dumb right now? I know you're smarter than that.
Not being
Riff.
dumb. I just told you I couldn't give you an answer. I couldn't tell you that.
You
Sorry.
chose not to give me an answer.
Said I couldn't do it. That's what I said.
Maybe
you got
you
upset
can-
because I said I didn't
No,
want to do it.
it's just you pick. What are you picking and choosing for?
It's a 4-team race. You want me to pick? I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'd rather wait.
Maybe
know?
you can give me an answer on this. Is Draymond getting a sympathy DPOY if he wins the award? After the media press tour that he's been on, advocating for himself, do you think it's deserved or not? Because there's a lot of backlash to him doing it. There's a lot of Evan Mobley stands saying, and maybe it should be him. Maybe it shouldn't be Draymond.
First of all, shout out to Pick a Side Meme
Shout out to Santos.
for posting that video of you talking about how the Warriors are done. Because the flip you have made on so many teams.
After this year, they
in the
could be
span-
done.
No,
Yo,
stop.
you've been on a generational flip
No,
run.
the flip you have
Yo,
made
Joel,
on so
this
many
season
teams
has been nuts.
Has been
Hey, listen,
truly.
with new information, you have to change
No,
your
It
it
mind.
is the best.
No.
It is Hey,
Yeah.
he wanted to wait. I get you waiting.
No, there's a
No,
difference.
Hey,
There's a
I
difference.
get where it comes from.
Because Drew, I waited and I didn't give you an answer. He came out and said,
you do give
"They're
answers."
done."
He does
and
give
then
answers.
he flipped and said, "You know what? They're not done."
Hey.
I sat here and told you like a man, I'm not answering. Like, I'm not going to give you an answer.
What's
You were
worse?
like, all right, fuck you. I get it. You don't
Sorry,
wanna give
I'm
me an
making a
answer.
prediction
You know,
instead of saying I don't know.
And now you made a
That's
TikTok.
I can respect that.
You made a TikTok about it. You jumped on there, and now you're a Warriors fan. It just threw me
You
off.
have been on a historic.
This year has been
Flip
different
run.
than most years.
It didn't
I'll say
take
that.
long though. I mean, the Warriors. Yeah, I
mean,
thought,
they barely
I thought they
lost.
wouldn't be a contender, but
No, listen.
after the first 10 games,
You went
it was
from
what it is.
they're done to the second best team in the West.
They are.
Then you went from Lakers got it to now they're the third best. Like it's,
It happened, but it happened pretty quickly. It happened after I saw what happened.
I saw you drop a list 2 days ago. It was completely different from the list you dropped 2 weeks ago.
What was the list?
It had Denver in it. Your top 5 teams in the West had Denver in it like 2-3 weeks ago. Then Denver dropped out of it.
Denver's been really bad. Though.
Yeah, so
They've been really bad. To your
It's almost like things
fairness,
should fluctuate.
Yeah, I'll say this. Listen, I'll say this. You've been on a run. I love the run.
it has been historic. I can acknowledge it. I'm
Run
defending you.
Has been.
It's been crazy.
You've been on a
Well, there's
Napoleon.
a lot of
like,
things. There's a lot of things changing in the regular season.
for sure,
the Warriors look dead. They got Jimmy. They
got
made a
life.
desperate move. They made a Hail Mary
I
throw
just think
down
you
the
needed
field.
to respect Jimmy just a tad more. That's the only thing I will say on that regard. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
Everything came together for them. Pod
Agreed.
started playing better.
But
At some point in
a
time,
big part of that.
it's also him
because
just
of
playing
Jimmy.
better.
No,
It's
agreed, but
because
there's less
the
attention on
Warriors
him.
started out the season 9-3.
You're not wrong.
They were one of
That's
the best
true.
teams in the league, and
Buddy
then they fell
Hield was
off.
on a Linsanity run.
That was
Why are
everybody.
you explaining yourself?
No, I'm not. He was on a Linsanity run. That's
flipped.
concrete
It's all right.
fact.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
flipped.
oh, you're saying him.
Yeah, you flipped. It's all right.
But
flipped.
I,
Cool.
I will say,
Glad
like
to
I said
have you
before,
aboard.
I think we just need a little bit more respect.
Well,
for
listen,
Jimmy.
you just change your mind with new growing information, you know.
There's a difference between changing your mind and
No.
completely flip. There has to be a middle ground here.
I think
There has to be.
as the mediator between
They
the two
can't just
here.
be
No,
at
the
1
things-
minute.
things
they're
fluctuate.
done. They're old.
Because
then
things
they're the
fluctuate.
second
I
best
will
team in the
say,
West.
Joel, you live on extremes, and that is lit. I respect it a
There has
lot.
to be a middle. With
I
some
do
of that.
think there should be a
things
middle.
fluctuate. I'm going to say right now.
Yes.
Things fluctuate. They made the trade.
Yes.
At the time of the trade, I'm like, I don't really like this move.
You said a lot of nasty
And
stuff.
then, but I don't really like this move. But
You're
then,
done. Keep going.
okay, but let me finish.
Let him finish,
Then
man.
on the court, they played really well.
Stop.
So
Let him finish.
what am I gonna say? Would it be better if I said, "Oh, they're still done after they're 18-2 with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry"? Would it have been better if I saw what they did on the court and said, "You know what? This team is really good."
Yes, that would have been better.
I did that.
No, that's not what you did. I'm gonna
Yes,
tell you
I
exactly
did.
what you did.
Yes,
What
I
you
did.
did was you judged them before they played, then you saw them play
Yeah.
and was like, fuck, I fucked up.
You
Let
had
me
to
do
make
that.
a stance.
No,
listen,
no,
I don't know why I'm
no,
justifying
trade.
it wrong.
No, you
But you
could've-
gotta pick a side. He picked
You
a side. It was wrong. It happened.
Yeah, I was wrong.
No,
It's better than you saying, I don't know for 50 fucking minutes.
better.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be the
no,
eighth seed.
no,
I don't
it's
know.
not.
I don't
No,
know.
it's
I
not.
can't tell
No,
you.
it's not.
This is the
No,
worst
it's
team,
not.
but I can't
No,
tell who's
it's
going to be
not.
the
No,
eighth
it's
seed.
not. No,
Come
it's
on,
not.
dude.
It's not.
Come on, dude.
You can easily sit there and
Isn't
say.
this Mr. Wait and see for things to
No, that's
happen?
Dels. Stop.
That is
No,
Dels,
that
but it's
is
also
you
you.
too.
Dels,
It's
stop.
both of you.
It's not. It's not.
This year,
It's
more
not.
than any, you've been a big
You
wait
can
and see.
easily sit there and say, let me see it. I want to see it on the court. Let me give it a couple games. You can easily sit there and say, you didn't wait to Dick, Rod, Luka, and LeBron. You jumped on that wagon and Pogo sticked on that one.
then hopped off.
You didn't. And listen, I don't
That's
blame
because
you.
the
That's
Lakers
what-
didn't look lifeless without Luka.
No, Joel,
The-
I let you talk. I let you talk.
The
I let you talk.
Warriors looked lifeless
I
when
agree.
before
And
they made the trade.
Joel, I let
What
you
were the
talk.
Lakers before Luka got there? Weren't they
We
were
were a
winning?
respectable
They're
team.
one of the best defenses since January.
Yes, I let you talk. I let you talk. All I'm saying is this. There is a moment in time where you can take that leap. You can take that jump. You can take that extreme. I don't hate you for taking that extreme. That's who you are. Take the extreme. But there is a moment where we need acknowledgement and we need to take accountability for what we do. And the fact of the matter is, Jimmy Butler got there. We knew based off the show, Drew, he didn't like Jimmy Butler. Or there's
also
been
true.
negative friction
There has
with
been
him and Jimmy
some
Butler.
previous
We knew that.
statements.
That's
That's
a
true.
fact. So Jimmy gets to Golden State, and you were pushing that before the trade. Well, even if they get Jimmy, this shit ain't gonna work. They're old. You could have
unfortunately
waited.
true.
But now that they're here, and it's still even because there was a moment where I was sitting there like, I like the team. The team is good. I want to see us compete, but I want to see us play a little bit better competition. I remember saying that, and you were like, "Oh, you don't want to pump them up. You were ready to pump me early and hype me up early." But I'm like, "Nah, I
They
want to."
did look good. I
was like,
would've
I
gotten
was like,
it.
"Nah, let me wait to see until we play some competitive teams." Then we play some competitive teams. I'm like, "All right,
Y'all
we
started
look
to
good."
lock in.
All I'm saying is, Joel, this is all I'm saying. All I'm saying is there has to be a middle ground between you being extreme on both ends. Like, why can't it be just a wait and see? Let me figure out what's going on. Why
Because
do you
I'm
have
not
to,
you, I'm
why do you-
me.
why do you
That's
have
why.
to? But then,
I mean, I think-
What's the
let me-
point of
let me
asking
finish.
a question? What's the point of a topic of are the Rockets overlooked? What's the point of asking a question to say, I don't know.
I don't
Let's
think
wait.
you, but I don't just say I don't know. Like, I feel like you can still give a.
You pretty much said that for 50 minutes.
No, you can.
Yeah, you
I
kinda
don't-
did.
I don't think
Yes,
I
you
did.
did.
say
No,
that
man,
for
50
absolutely
was
did.
strong. It was a good 15 minutes of you saying, I don't know, we can't talk about that. The whole point of a question like that was, what do you think is going to be of the new big three, Jimmy, Steph, and Dre?
So-
you made a stance. Unfortunately,
I feel like
you
so
were
Drew,
wrong.
So Drew.
Going to the extreme is
So,
crazy. That's
so
all
Drew,
I'm saying.
So Drew. Number one, I think you're right in what you're saying.
Of course you do.
We get topics and we answer the topic at hand.
You have
You
to
don't.
answer
That's
the
what we
question.
do.
You not always have to do that though.
But
What
that's
do you-
the point
that's
of
the
having
point
a topic.
It's called pick a side.
And now, guess what? Hold on.
Whoa. Saying that doesn't make sense.
You're right.
Because we can throw that out the window.
Unfortunately,
Hold
there
up,
have
hold
been
up.
moments.
Yeah, we can throw that out
But
the
in the
window.
moment, he picked his side and he was wrong.
Picking a side
glad
doesn't
you was.
mean you just stand on one thing even if you're wrong about it. It means looking at information and seeing it fluctuate. I don't think it's a problem. Talking about being accountable. I mean, what am I supposed to say? Yeah, I was wrong about how they were going to look. Yeah, that's the only sentence I need to say.
I'm just
But
acknowledging
at
the
the time
jump
when
rope you've done.
at the time when the trade happened, did I not feel strongly about it? Absolutely. At the time when the trade happened, didn't every Warriors fan feel terrible about it?
No.
Most Warriors
Really?
fans,
No.
most Warriors fans online that I was seeing on Twitter, they were saying, "This is the move we made." My goodness.
What?
Nobody
People
thought
are
they were.
stupid.
Nobody thought they were going to be contenders after they made the trade.
I didn't see that. I'm not going to see
Whoa. Nobody thought they'd be contenders is
Yes,
fair.
but I didn't see the whole they didn't like the trade. I'm not going
Which
to
is
say you're
crazy.
wrong.
I
I'm not
also
gonna call you
think
a liar, but I
they
didn't see
gave him
that.
120 mil. That's also could be a
Yeah,
part of it.
I'm
They
not-
gave him
I'm not
120
gonna
mil.
sit here and say-
There were people on Twitter that objectively weren't the highest
I'm not
on the
gonna say you're
trade.
lying there. I didn't
for
see it.
sure.
I didn't see it
for
personally. I'm
sure.
not gonna say
On
you're lying.
Warriors Twitter, there were definitely people that once the trade happened, they were putting up memes out there. They didn't really know what moved the needle. So yes, at the time, do I feel bad about it? Absolutely not, because at the time, I didn't think it was gonna work. because the entire team, not just Steph and Draymond, the entire team didn't look that good. Steph Curry wasn't playing his
Paz
best.
was terrible.
And then with Jimmy Butler coming in, Steph Curry started playing like an MVP, and everybody started playing well around that. So, of course, my opinion is going to change from that moment to this moment because I've seen them play. But at the time, what was my gut feeling about it? I don't really like it. And I don't feel bad about that because at the time, I didn't really like it.
Yeah, I just find that funny.
Because when we do the show, I'm going based on how I feel. How I feel, yes, I don't like it at the time.
It's
and
unfortunate.
if I start to like it, I'm not gonna keep saying I don't like it. I'm gonna say, oh, I actually like this. I like this.
And Riv, I can get you getting on him. I
Okay.
get it. I will also say, from where he was at, I didn't think it was gonna work. What is the fact, obviously, is that you were wrong. And he knows that.
Yeah, I mean that's not.
That's all. Listen,
And at least he's acknowledging it. I would rather not.
He had to. Nobody was going to say
you
shit.
gotta-
That's what I said.
you
Rick, I
gotta
gotta
acknowledge
ask you
it.
a question. Are you wrong on the Grizzlies being a dark horse contender, or do you have to wait and see for
No,
that?
I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But like,
this is the holding each other accountable show.
But see, this is why that's stupid, and this is what you do when you find out you're wrong.
What do you mean?
You
What's
need to.
stupid
You
about
have to look. I'm about to tell you because when you're wrong, and this happens a lot. Not a lot that you're wrong, but I'm saying when you get caught being wrong, you like to whoever you're debating with bring up something that they were wrong about. Now, when I said they were dark horse, whatever shit was. And I specifically said that, I don't know why but I specifically said I put them in a scenario with another team. I forgot who the other team was. And I gave a nasty ass scenario where I can see it. If you want me to say I'm wrong, I can
But
say
you
I'm
didn't
wrong.
have the Rockets. That's the only reason why I had the issue.
No, I had the Rockets a tier higher.
No.
I did.
No, you had them in the dark horse can win multiple. Did you have them in the can win a playoff series?
Honestly, I don't remember. I'll be honest. I don't remember.
Either which way you shake it.
But I had the Rockets 4th on my list today. So
This all started because you brought up an old take. I didn't bring up an old take from you.
What, you just did. No, I'm saying no.
To be fair, Joel's
No,
right.
you're cooking. Because I haven't brought it up because I forgot to tell you.
This is a DPOY.
It literally started with Draymond Green.
It's- Draymond Green triggered it, and I remembered because I had to tell him like, yo, I remember you were nasty on Golden State.
So we spent 20 minutes on that.
Oh, this is what we do.
So
Let's
you don't think that's a giant waste of time?
No,
That's a one sentence
Giant
thing.
waste-
Okay, yeah, I was wrong about the Warriors.
giant waste of time. Joel, we do a show for 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
but
like,
not.
what are you
But
talking
okay. Oh, all right. I was wrong about the Warriors when they first made the Jimmy Butler trade. All right, next, let's talk about Draymond DPOY.
about? No, Joel, don't do that. Don't.
Like,
don't.
what do you mean?
No. Listen.
Want me to write a letter?
Joel,
Warriors are wrong.
Nah, it's just been
Drew
been a
came in here. No, stop. Drew came in here with a book. You came in here with apology letters for Josh Giddey. Let's stop acting like we don't do this. Isn't it? Like, come on. Now we not finna act like we don't do this. We have done this where we have brought up our takes. We've been wrong. It's a part of the laugh. It's a part of the humor.
He's right.
You're just upset that you were wrong
No,
in that
I'm
moment.
not upset.
I don't know why.
I told
but
you.
That's
What
what
am I
we do.
upset about?
I told
And
you.
Draymond
I
Green,
told you at the time I was
Draymond
wrong.
Green triggered the shit in my brain.
I understand.
Because Draymond Green was getting brought up, and I was like, oh, I saw his list yesterday, and I was like, oh shit. I was reminded because you were on TikTok being a nasty man. You were being a nasty man.
At the time, you were being nasty.
a nasty
Yeah,
man.
but I also made a
And
TikTok.
now all of a sudden,
it's not all of a sudden.
To be fair,
now all of a sudden,
since they've gotten Jimmy,
It's like 10 games
they've been legendarily
It's not
good.
all of a sudden.
I'm not wrong. Yo, you're not wrong. It's
Wait,
But
hold
he's
on.
acknowledging that.
That's- but I'm saying that. I'm
Is
just
it
saying
is
that's
it
what
all of a
triggered it.
sudden, or is it after they were basically like 10-0 with Jimmy and
Yes.
Curry,
No, facts.
acknowledging that,
Facts.
making a film
Facts,
analysis
facts,
on TikTok
facts.
about it? So it's not all of a sudden.
I'm just saying that's
it's
what
I
triggered.
watched them play.
I'm saying that's what triggered it. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm
that's
saying
what
it's not
triggered
all
it.
of a sudden. I watched them play.
I didn't mean literally all of a sudden. I'm just saying that's what triggered it. Draymond Green brought it up, and I'm like, oh,
Are you
shit.
saying all this to say that Draymond Green is not the DPOY?
Or you have to wait and see until the award gets announced.
I mean, I've made more takes than you.
Whoa!
Been more right than you.
Why are you bringing me into this? What have you been more right about than me?
That wait and see, we have to throw that out the window.
What are you
'cause that's
living
him.
off of?
That's not me.
What are you living off of bringing me into this shit?
Yeah, because that wait and see. I keep saying that. Don't know why I keep saying that. That's him. That's
What
not
takes
me.
have you made actually
I make
that
takes.
you're more right than me?
I make takes.
Don't
man.
make me fucking turn up.
You can't turn up on me.
How? Well, what are you saying to me? What takes have I said?
What you gonna say?
What takes have I said that you've been more right
that
than?
wait and see shit. Throw that out the window.
Let's see. Were you right about Jordan Poole? Let's get into it bag. Were you right about Jordan Poole and Austin Reeves?
Yes.
You were wrong.
Yes. Were you right about Jaylen Brown this year? Were you right about Jaylen Brown?
I was right. Yes,
were
the
you
year
right
before.
about Jaylen
Yes.
Brown the year before he won the
Yes.
chip?
No, I was right. No, were you right about Jaylen Brown at all?
No. Yes.
When?
Yes, I was.
When?
The year
So when he was
wasn't good
Finals
on
MVP?
defense. That year.
Oh, okay.
No.
So shush.
The year after? Yes.
So shush.
The year before? No.
Were you right about
was I
that?
right in
No,
the
you
year the Warriors
weren't.
won the chip? Yes. Was I right in the Eagles to win it? Yes. I gotta bring it to football because now I gotta add on the takes.
Oh
you know what I'm
my
saying?
God.
Oh. Yeah, so like I was saying, was I right on Steph being good as long as he needed his
Saying,
number two
was
guy?
I right on
Yeah.
the Cavaliers this year?
I was right too.
Oh, was I? Who had him higher?
You got a
Oh, was I
3-4.
right about
Wait,
Darius
we were
Garland
both
comeback
technically-
season?
technically
Oh, I
both-
was right about that,
I was
right?
there with you.
Oh, interesting.
And I was
Was
right
I
about
right about
Mobley.
Victor
Oh, wait.
Wembanyama being the best defensive player in the year? Oh, I was right about that. Let's hear what other takes you've
I
had.
was right on
Rick.
Cade, right?
You stood on Cade for sure.
We're here.
Did I ever discredit Cade?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Are you out of your fucking
You
mind?
were taking Scotty bum-ass Barnes over him.
I'm a Scotty fan.
That's a discredited service.
How?
Right there. Lock
Scotty
that
was
in.
an all-star.
Yeah.
Sounds like a 3-3 game 7.
No, but I'm wondering genuinely, you're really upset over us calling you out on not making a take today?
No, we in the pod.
Because that's interesting. I make more right takes than you. I make more right takes than you. When realistically, what takes do you actually
We're
make?
giving the energy. It's good energy. I'm fine. We're giving the good energy. Well, see, this is what we gotta do is we gotta stop lying like I don't make takes. That, the wait and see take, leave that to that young man at that say right there.
Because you're worried about the Grizzlies? Is that
Why
what
do
it
we
comes
keep
back
bringing up
to?
the Grizzlies?
Because that's the whole part of where this started.
God,
You
keep
were
bringing up the Grizzlies.
because your take was that the Grizzlies can go to the
I
dark.
made it. You just posted
And now you're going
wait,
back on that?
You just
So what are we
no.
doing?
I just said I was wrong on that. What are you talking about?
So you are wrong. So you're
said I
giving
was
up. So the Grizzlies are done.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Got it.
You just posted about me making a take like 2 days ago
About what?
about J-Dub. What are you talking about?
When did I do that?
Oh, no, it was on Pitch
that was you?
Twitter. No.
Yeah. Whoever that was, like that was just me making a take. What are you talking about?
In terms of what, saying that he didn't get better?
I don't know. You posted it.
I didn't.
No, yeah, that's
Oh,
what you said. You said he didn't take a big
whoever-
enough leap.
Whoever that was.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Is that making a take, or is that going off what you are seeing, or what your analysis?
Take opinions, analysis.
Is that even a take?
I don't know, bro. I'll be honest. I don't know anymore.
It's kind of both. Let's talk about Draymond Green, though. Is he
let's
DPOY
talk
to
about
you?
Draymond Green. You know what's funny? I was on February 2nd. Was it February 2nd? It was during the All-Star break. We was talking about this earlier, and I looked up the ballot, like for the betting favorites, and he wasn't even on there. Like out of the first 1 through 8 names,
They showed
he
it in
wasn't on there.
January. He was at minus
Yeah,
12,000.
he was so. It might have been plus.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, plus like he was so far down the list. I think this when Wemby just got ruled out for the year. And then he just made a couple comments, but also he's been Draymond Green. I've been watching him all year. He's been great defensively. It's no denying that. Defensive Player of the Year. When you factor in that, then Jaren got hurt. Then Evan Mobley and the Cavs, they've been kind of like slumping on defense for the last month. Draymond's kind of had some games that shot him up. You know, specifically the game against the Bucks and Giannis, where he guarded Giannis really well. That game kind of really propelled him up. Then he went on his podcast. When you factor in all that, because it was at a point where it was really Jaren or Evan Mobley to lose it, and they kind of lost it in a sense. Like Dyson respected Dyson, but they not really. It's going to be hard for them to give guards that responsibility, especially with the way he's been playing and stuff like that. Especially with the way the Hawks defense just is. But Draymond Green, I think, I want Mobley or Jaren to win it. If Draymond wins it, I won't hate it. Does he deserve it? I feel like it's disrespectful for me to say no because I've watched him be great on that end all year. I've watched him break up. Like, he is really one of the few guys in the league that can literally break up plays. Like, he's like a safety out there. Him being so short and him being undersized and him just being so smart, it's so crazy. So I feel like saying he don't deserve it, it'd be a slight. But I think out of those three guys, I don't mind either one of them winning it. I know you're going to bring up Zubac, so I'll let that be for you because I feel like he also is a guy that's been great this year. So I'll let you, give him his flowers. But
You were right about Zubac this year as well.
I don't mind bang, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind Draymond winning it, but
I give credit.
it's odd the way it's been. Like, you were plus like 14,000 like 2 months ago or a month ago, whatever it was. And then bada boom, bada bang, you're now all of a sudden the favorite. So, but like I said, Evan Mobley, Cavs been slumping. Jaren Jackson, he got hurt. They haven't been the same. And then Wemby getting hurt.
I feel like Draymond was always in the discussion. I just think that the Warriors were so irrelevant that nobody bothered to put him in the discussion. But based on his play on the court, he was always there. Like, you look at the numbers. I think the numbers back it up. He's third in defensive EPM, only behind Caruso and Wemby. Think Wemby would have been the runaway defensive player of the year had he stayed healthy. Warriors are 7th in defensive rating. Draymond is 6th in contested shots per game, and the opponents shoot 4.8% worse when he's guarding them, and he's 7th in most charges drawn. He's been anchoring the Warriors' defense all year long. Their hot start is primarily because of their hot offensive shooting and Steph playing at a high level, but also their defense. I feel like a couple players deserve a shout out in this, and I don't agree with Draymond being the overwhelming favorite.
Was he like minus 125?
Yeah, he's probably going to win it at this point. But you look at Amen Thompson. He's 4th in defensive EPM at 2.7. The Rockets are 4th in defensive rating, a better defense than the Warriors, and opponents shoot 5.8% worse when he's guarding them. And he's the best player on one of the best defensive teams in basketball. Zubac is 10th in defensive EPM. The Clippers are 2nd in defensive rating. Chris Dunn also has a large role in that. And he's 7th in contested shots per game at 10 per game. And opponents shoot 3.5% worse. You look at the other top defenses. At this point, Rudy Gobert doesn't get acknowledgement because he's won so many awards. But the Timberwolves are 6th in defensive rating. And Gobert is 5th in defensive EPM and 4th in contests. He's one of the better contested defenders in the league. He contests a ton of shots.
Voted fatigue for him.
And then look at the Cavaliers. They're 9th in defensive rating. Evan Mobley, 20th in defensive EPM, 5th in most contested shots per game. So a lot of these candidates are pretty close is the main takeaway that I had. And to me, I just want the NBA to have 3 defensive teams. I think they have 3 All-NBA teams. You should have 3 defensive teams. The rookie teams is fine keeping it at 2 because sometimes 10 rookies, good ones, is kind of all you're going to get.
Yeah.
But looking at the defensive teams, I was doing mine. And Amen Thompson, Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels, Evan Mobley, Draymond Green have to be on it. Then my second team, I'd go OG Anunoby, Caruso, Bam, Gobert, and Zubac. And I'm leaving guys out like Kamara, Chris Dunn, J-Dub, Isaiah Stewart.
I don't think he's going to be qualified.
Yeah, Asor Thompson, Jonathan Isaac, Hartenstein, even SGA.
Hartenstein got robbed.
Yeah,
with the same
SGA
shit, no
on
65.
a down year.
I think also Asar is not going to be qualified.
On a down year, I think SGA would be a defensive player. Like he would be on a defensive team. You know, being on the first ranked defense MVP, being one of the league leaders in steals, and he's averaging a block for a guard. I think in a normal year where there's not so many candidates, he'd be in the conversation. But I think it's about time we add a third team. There's too many great defensive players to snub some guys. Like OG Anunoby might not make it. I think that's crazy. I think Tumani Kamara might not make it. I think that's crazy.
I think it'll happen. You know, we've added defensive player of the months. So I think eventually they'll start to add all that stuff. I do think I honestly, like, I think the defensive award, I think the all-teamers really gravitate towards the big men. So I do think it's unfortunate that I think we should have a big man team and a guard team really to give them more love because I feel like it really gravitates. We could get about 7 bigs on the defensive teams, and it's unfortunate, but it's truthful because like that's the most impactful defense, you know, the big man defense.
My defensive player of the year is going to be Draymond Green. I think that over the stretch of the last, I guess, the calendar year 2025, we haven't seen the Cavaliers be this overwhelmingly great defense like they were in the beginning of the season. If Isaiah Hartenstein would have met the requirement for 65 games, I think that he has a seat at this table. I think that he's been the most consistent defender for them while he has been on the court, of course, anchoring that defense as a big man, how great he has been, rebounding the basketball as a rim protector. I think that he's been excellent. Unfortunately, he's not going to meet the requirements. Jaren Jackson, I think, would have met that, or I think Jaren Jackson has a strong case for this as well. I just think that we're starting to see them fall off and the Golden State Warriors start to ascend, which is why Draymond Green is getting the push that he is. I think that it's okay, truthfully. I think we're not talking about an average defender. We're not talking about an above average defender. No, we're talking about one of the best defenders this game's ever seen. This isn't a sympathy award for him. He's an amazing defensive player. He's a legend to the game. Whether you like him or not, that shouldn't persuade you from the idea of what he has been, what he has done for the Golden State Warriors defense. We've seen that for the entirety of his career, but you go back in time to that 2022 championship, you look at how great they were defensively with him. He leaves, they fall off a cliff. He comes back. They're back to being the number 1 defense in the league. It speaks to how essential he is to them. And even this late into his career, yeah, Jimmy Butler is a huge part as to why we've seen a complete turnaround in the Golden State Warriors' success. But where it all begins on the defensive side will always be Draymond Green. So yeah, I have no issues with this. Sympathy is ridiculous. If we're talking about a guy who is finally breaking onto the scene, then maybe. But that has not been Draymond Green. I think you made an excellent argument for Amen Thompson. I think he has a definite strong case to be in this conversation. But being the center focal point of a defense, I think that's the separator between the two. And I think that's why you lean Draymond Green. But Amen most definitely has a seat at this table.
I wish I was there looking at the odds jump when he did a press tour. I would have jumped on it. Wasn't able to.
Someone's
going to be rich.
Somebody took that 14,000 odds.
Really?
Like, let me put $50 on this.
They're going to retire tomorrow.
Yes, that shit is crazy. Honestly, it needs to be a study on that, because with all due respect, shout out to Draymond, but this definitely, he has some hand in it, man, because there ain't no way you go from plus 14,000 and now you minus 125, and like, even if you can't sell me on people don't watch Golden State, like, you can't sell me on that. 100%. They have Steph Curry. They have if not the most, one of the most viewed games all year, like the most televised games all year. So you're not gonna view me or sell me on this shit that people not watching Draymond Green.
Lies.
Like, it's just cap. So clearly in January, February, y'all wasn't feeling it. He went on his podcast, which has a good amount of following. Draymond has a good amount of power. Said some stuff, went out there, performed well, and they were like, all right, look at his numbers. Wait a minute.
Kind of goes to where you were at. The Warriors weren't good. Why would he have any chance to win Defensive Player of the Year? They're great now. Why is that? Steph Curry's here. He's back. Jimmy Butler is a big part of being a great counterpart to Steph Curry. And Draymond Green's the best defender in the world. There's a correlation.
Evan Mobley bettors are probably mad right now. They got robbed.
They got
this award.
played.
It's also on them though. They've been. You talk about a team that look like they coasting.
They are coasting. I agree.
They fell off defensively.
I'm with you.
Yeah, they did. Now, NBA observations. Name one or two things you've been noticing. I only got one, and it's OG Anunoby's offensive leap.
I like that.
I think he's taken his game to the next level. Where I think, third offensive option. He's better than Mikal Bridges.
I don't want to get nasty, but I'm asking you a question.
He is. He clears Mikal.
He does. Yeah, it's not a conversation. Oh my God, is Mikal going to get 16 points?
He's at 17.9.
What was it?
OG's at 18.1. So OG's,
damn, that Brunson absence blast.
Yeah, Mikal was playing well too. I think Mikal will probably get to 18. I think it's good for the Knicks' outlook that they have Brunson, Cat, and then two 18-point per game scorers. But over the last 19 games, OG is averaging 23.8 points per game, shooting 49% from the field and 41.7% from three. He has 13 20-point games and 3 30-plus point games in that span. And this is a career season for him. He's going to play his most minutes per game, have his most points per game, and have his most dunks this season at 130. That's 27 more than any other year he's ever had in his career. I think he's being more aggressive, and he's handling the ball much better. He's getting to the rack much better. I think OG Anunoby, for
Who
him,
are you laughing at right now?
Why do you got dunks? Why do you got dunks?
Because he's been dunking a lot.
Oh,
like no, there's been dunks this season that I've watched from OG that I haven't seen before.
I've just never heard people like when they drop the stats like dunks.
No, against the Sixers, he had this dunk where he attacked the rim and he was hanging on it like he was prime Vince Carter.
I love that.
And like OG was. I didn't know he had that. He just looks so good right now, and he's also a elite defensive player. 8th in deflections per game. 3rd in contested threes per game.
That goes on.
1st in contested threes total. 17th in contested total shots. I think this version of OG is an all-star.
I want to say
he's that good.
I want to say this, and it
how many games? Like 15, right?
19.
I want to say this, and it pains me to say this because I want nothing but the best for the Knicks. I will never forgive them for giving up 5 firsts for Mikal Bridges. You did not need him. He's been playing better. He's been playing better, and I want to give him that. You did not need him.
I'm scared though.
You rushed a timeline. OG showed last year, and although limited amount of games did get injured, when you had him on the court, you didn't lose.
That's what I'm scared about though. Like him playing this amount of minutes, him being this aggressive, obviously, him being more like just putting more pressure. I'm scared because he gets those freak accidents, freak injuries and stuff like that.
That's a fact.
I think this is great for him though, because I feel like oftentimes
Mikal or OG?
When I feel like when players get hurt, you're kind of like wrapping them in bubble wrap and hoping they don't go out there and get hurt. You're like managing them. I think Tom Thibodeau has given him an uptick in his load, and OG is responding to it well. Sometimes the best way to be an 82-game player is to push your body to the limit and push yourself to be that. Yeah. And he's on pace to play the most games of his career. He's playing the most minutes. He's been healthy for the most part this season. And I feel like if his body gets accustomed to that type of workload, it's only going to make him better and more accustomed to it later. The more they manage him, I feel like the more you're kind of setting him up to not be at his very best from a conditioning standpoint. So I like this, and I think Mikal Bridges, that trade, we're always going to look at that, but if he's the fourth best player on the team and we have more of a bench and we have more players that are supporting this team, I like the direction. Overall, I just look at Tom Thibodeau and the players that have breakout seasons with the Knicks, Brunson, OG now, Isaiah Hartenstein, Dante DiVincenzo. I think this is one of the better developing organizations in the league. We maximize these players, and Tom Thibodeau has maximized players before, like Joakim Noah, Luol Deng. You can argue Emmanuel Quickley was maximizing his role in New York, Quentin Grimes for a short period of time. Like, I think we just get the best out of players, and OG Anunoby is a recent example of the leap that he took.
Yeah, unfortunately, the QG one kind of gets like a little bit of an asterisk because he wasn't that great toward the end of his tenure with the Knicks.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm so vocal about why I love Tom Thibodeau. I get why people don't like him because of the minutes that he runs his starting guys, and he overextends his hand in sometimes. But he very rarely doesn't get the best out of his guys, like you're saying, and that's where I give him a lot of acknowledgement. Some love that I want to give out to player-wise is Denny Avdia. We know that coming into the season, Denny Avdia was one of my... Yeah? I respect that. Thank you. I appreciate that, actually. Good looks, bro. Means a lot. OD. That's why you took a shot unnecessary. Blew mine. That being said...
Attack me as a man.
Shut up. Over the last 10... Denny's averaging 27, 11, 6 assists, 24% true shooting.
Denny Avdia, Josh Hart.
And that's where I kind of want to get
The numbers
to,
are
but
kinda
not
similar
really.
still.
Stop it.
I remember we yelled about this.
If
Don't
Josh
talk
Hart
end of
was
season
on a
stats.
rebuilding team, oh my goodness.
Let me
Denny is one of the main reasons why they were fake making that push towards that last spot of the play-in.
Phoenix sucks.
That defense is at the forefront, but Denny, legit.
Denny's playing really good
Yo,
basketball.
I am astonished.
And it's a steal of a contract.
The basketball player Denny Avdia is incredible. He has ascended, especially in this last month of the season. I just think that he gives you offensively a 3-level bag. He has the ability to play make. He is a really good defender at that. That's really what put him on the map with a lot of people. He's just taken this huge offensive leap, especially over this good amount of games over the last part of the season. It gives me strong expectation that if the Portland Trailblazers have a strong pick in this draft, we could be looking at, how every team that, like last season, OKC was that team that ascended.
That sneaks up. Yeah.
Exactly. And the Rockets were that team that ascended. Depending on what happens with Portland, I don't know if they get like that Rockets and OKC type of ascension, but with a good draft pick, the Blazers could be that team.
Well, for his sake, you better hope that's not Cooper Flag.
You're going. We out to Trailblazers.
No, I'm saying the Blazers. No, Denny Avdia's sake.
Oh no, I get what you mean. He won't be on ball as much.
I thought you said the point.
No, but
Denny could play the
they
3.
could be 1 too.
I like Sharp.
Sharp could be the 2.
I
like Sharp too. I'm not giving up on him, but Denny's better than Shaden.
Denny could play the 3.
The ceiling for Shaden, I'm still buying it.
The idea.
Would you rather Denny Avdia or Bub Carrington?
Yo, what the fuck?
Be dead ass.
That's what the Wizards
all
traded.
right, so what's the answer?
Right now, that's mad disrespectful.
Bub Carrington is playing really well.
What's the answer, Joel?
I don't think
Should I wait and
right
see?
now it might be Denny.
You tell me.
In 4 years, could it be Bub Carrington? Absolutely, it can.
No, it can't.
It can be.
No, it cannot.
Wait. Don't wait and see. Answer him right now.
He said, "Oh yeah, facts."
Yeah, don't wait. Answer him right now.
I have some Bub Carrington propaganda.
Yo, Bub Carrington's a good
Carrington's
basketball
nice.
player.
Yeah,
But Denny's like nice.
Yeah, he's like
He's
what,
baby
his
Luka.
5th year in the league.
Hey,
baby
you like that one?
Luka.
You like that?
Oh my goodness.
Yo, poor man's Luka. I was
He's
the
like poor.
All right,
Like poor.
he's Charmeleon, or is he or is he Charmander?
Okay, this is players with 250 plus assists and 100 plus 3-pointers made before turning 20. Kobe Bryant, Luka, Bub Carrington. Players with 325 plus assists and 125 plus 3-pointers made before turning 20. Only Bub Carrington. He's He's in a section of his own.
How many Wizards games have you actually played into just Bub Carrington highlights?
32, 9, and 7 the other night.
So it's just straight Bub Carrington highlights.
They're good.
Yo, Bub Carrington's a good basketball player.
Nice. Yo, Luka's like Nightwing. Denny is, we'll give him Jason Todd.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying?
You didn't like the Charizard Charmeleon?
I didn't get it. I acted like I did.
All right,
But I didn't get it.
So the big thing with the Lakers is that we have Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard.
Okay.
Charmander is Don't connect.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see where we're
Charmeleon
going.
is
The white
Austin
boys.
Reeves.
Yes.
Charizard is
So yes,
Luka.
Denny is where Austin
He's
Reeves
Charmeleon.
is. Yes.
So Denny this year is averaging 17, 7, and 4.
Tell me the efficiency. I'm just curious.
True shooting for EFG.
Not give me everything.
We don't care about field goals no more.
Give me that. Give me
47% from the field, 36% from 3. And 78% at the line.
EFG.
EFG's cool.
EFG's
I
back.
could do EFG.
I'm going to go to Josh Hart. He's averaging 14, 10,
Whoa,
and
you
6.
won't give me EFG?
14, 10, and 6. 55% EFG.
Boing.
He had 56% last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be
He's
like
scoring more.
He
He's doing more.
that. Way more.
Josh Hart's at 58% this year. of EFG.
Understandable.
No, so off EFG, no doubt. Let's take Josh Hart, right?
14, 10, and 6. 14, 10, and 6 for Josh Hart.
That's good
numbers are
numbers.
like not that far off.
The thing is,
for being like the fifth guy.
I have no. You know, I love Josh Hart. You know that. I just got stronger feelings for Denny.
I just really I don't know if I'd take Denny over Josh Hart on the Knicks.
Okay.
I'd still like Josh Hart.
That's understandable. He's the heart and
You
soul.
really feel that good about that?
Well, it depends. Like, what is Denny Avdia as like the fifth best option on the team? Is he still going to be able to do this?
I mean,
no.
that's what Josh Hart is right now. No.
And he's averaging 14, 10, and 6.
Josh Hart's the heart and soul for you. I understand it.
If he was like the number one guy on Portland, like getting touches, can he be 21, 10, and 6?
Wasn't
Didn't
he
they trade
on
him?
Portland? I was gonna say.
Yeah,
They
he
traded
was
for
on.
Cam Reddish.
Oh, you want to look? Oh, Portland numbers. Josh Hart was
He was
different.
averaging 17.
Actually, yeah, pull us up. Let's see.
He was averaging 17.
They
I'm
traded him
curious.
for Cam Reddish.
Yeah, they
a
made a
first.
mistake.
And a first.
Cam Reddish.
And a first.
So Josh Hart, when he got traded to the Blazers at first, he was averaging 20 points,
Ooh, got you.
5 rebounds, and 4
How many?
assists.
Wait, how many games?
13 games.
Like I knew it was some
we can't give him that.
bullshit.
We can't give him that.
13 games, but
It was 25 out of game.
Yeah, then he was on Portland for 51 games, and he was averaging 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 4
That's
assists.
just not
the real
17.
him.
It's just
It's the
not
real
17. That is the real him.
Yeah, that's the real. He's a good player.
And that's a good. That's a really good player.
I just don't know if this like 23, 10, and 5 is like the real Denny though.
No, it's not 23. 27.
27. I don't know if I think that's
not
bizarre.
a lot.
27, 11, and 6.
I don't know if that's the real Denny.
You're not wrong.
I think Denny's
27
really
is not
good.
a lot of guys. 27 points.
I
is
think Denny's
nuts,
really good, but like I don't know how he looks like as a role player. He's not gonna have these type of touches.
And we knew when he was on the Wizards that he was a good role player.
Facts.
Was he better than Josh Hart last year? No, he
I
wasn't.
told you he was, because he
wasn't.
was.
No, he wasn't.
Oh my God.
Josh Hart, he's
remember that. We
10
had a-
rebounds.
Who's a
as
better
scar.
defender, Denny or Josh?
It's probably Denny.
It's easily Denny.
So, all right. So if you're telling me,
Josh Hart's better on the boards.
which it's close. It's
Nah,
close.
Josh Hart got it. Josh Hart got it.
Denny Avdia is a really good
But
rebounder
offensively,
too.
defensively, and Josh could do it. That's he's
Nah,
had
Josh is
18
a better
rebound
rebounder.
playoff.
He
games,
is a
you know what I'm saying?
rebounding guy.
Yeah, you feel me?
So is Denny.
He's a machine rebounding. What's your NBA observation, Riv?
My NBA observation is it is one. It's something that's been bothering me for some time. I want to start by saying this. This specific fan base has wanted me to speak on it.
Oh wow.
This specific fan base has wanted me to speak on it because I've been kind of the vocal point for them on this podcast. I've been kind of their spokesperson for them. The Memphis Grizzlies, man. Ja Morant specifically.
Do they miss Dylan Brooks?
I've noticed a trend here. I've noticed a trend, and
I'm crying, Riv.
what I have noticed. No. What I have noticed is just a trend of nonstop funny talk on my guy. My guy being Ja Morant, Demetrius Morant, my brother in Christ. First of all, let me start by saying this. There's been a weird situation going on in the last week or so with the gun thing going on.
He's been
and
bugging.
how
He's been bugging minorly.
he's been tweaking. I'll say this. There's a reason why Ja Morant is getting a different, outlook than other guys.
No
because
doubt.
in the past, he's had situations with that. But I will say that he's been doing it all year. I will say if you want something gone, you have to make it mandate towards every player. And treating him unjust doesn't really make sense, especially if you want him to, if you want him to be the face of a franchise that's kind of like in a small market type vibe. But I will say also he has to be better. Like him going out the next game and doing it again, I get it. You're gangster, you want to prove a point.
Was kinda cool.
It was fire. Don't get me wrong.
cool.
I would tell him do it. But him doing it and then the bench doing it to him kind of gave vibes that they don't care. And that goes to kind of your Dylan Brooks point of they've been lacking that toughness, and it's nice to see them finally fight back.
with guns.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. But I just want to attack some points that have been said on this podcast about my specific guy, just in terms of just his game style and the way he's played and how, people have talked about him. For starters, I want to start by saying this. John Morant has improved in his 5 to 6 years in the NBA.
Really?
He's improved. First of all, if you look at the numbers, as a mid-range shooter, he has improved. He's always been great in the paint. As a corner shooter, he's been up and down, above the break, dog shit. You will never get disrespect from me. This as a passer, his reading defenses, he has improved. The one thing he hasn't improved is something you need him to improve on. It's the three-point shot. Of course, also the defense is something that's not good. Number two, I do think Memphis is in this dark place of they can't, it's hard to build the championship team around a point guard. It really is, unless you have a transcendent guy like Steph Curry, or you get those once in a blue moons like Chauncey Billups. But even Chauncey Billups wasn't the consensus best player on this team. You had a collection of like 4 or 5 guys in the starting 5 that were really great. So it's really hard, especially when you're a guy who primarily relies on your athleticism. You primarily rely to get 2 feet in the paint, but you're also fragile. I don't want to say fragile, it kind of coincides with soft, but you're a small body guy, and that you take a lot of hits, you get injured. So it is tough. The notion that Jaren Jackson Jr. has lapped John Morant, I want to say, is 100% false. I want to say that is not true. And if people think trading John Morant is the thing to do,
He was in the business of keeping receipts today.
I don't think Memphis would be in an uproar. Memphis would literally riot. I think John Morant is the face of the franchise.
I agree
do
with
think
this.
he's the guy that they want to build around. I also think it's hard to come by a star in a small market like where you are in
100%.
Memphis. So you got to try to keep the core. But the notion that Jaren Jackson Jr. has lapped
He's more valuable to the team.
John Morant
That statement is still insane.
is
been more consistent all year long.
Is a statement
Yeah.
that I can't get behind.
It's like saying Mobley is the most valuable player on the Cavs.
And the reason why
John's
I can't
not
get
D-Mitch.
behind it, Drew, is because we have seen prior to this year, there was no thought as to who was the best player
Never.
on Memphis. There was
Never.
no thought as to who was the guy on Memphis.
Never.
There was no thought process. It was John Morant. He was the guy ascending into top 15, top 20 talks. He was the guy that was the best player on the team that can, in the playoffs, he rises up. This year has not, and I will say that again, has not been the prettiest year for my brother. It has not been. But I want to say this. For people who believe Jaren Jackson Jr. has lapped John Morant, I ask, I'm being nice. I ask that you wait another year before you make
I think it's
statements
fair.
like that.
I
agree with that.
That's nice because
I think
don't make the statement based off the year that happened.
No, I think
Wait.
it's fair that you give him another year to bounce back, being as if last year he missed damn near all of last year. Then last offseason he was dealing with a shoulder injury. And then this year, because we love to give Halliburton a pass for him being hurt for a year and a half, I think it is fair to give John Morant just a little bit of grace for dealing with a bad shoulder all year. I think it's a little fair to ask of that, just to give him an opportunity to win his team back.
Now, Joel, I know it should come as no surprise to you that I agree with the majority of his sentiment. I just want to close a quick statement by saying I think that off of what he said of we've known the best player for multiple years to be John Morant.
4 or 5 to be exact.
I agree that after 1 year where it is true, Jaren has been better than him for the majority of the season, no doubt.
He's been their best player.
Absolutely. I think that we can, or we should, 3-way shake our hands to wait 1 season more to allow it to come into fruition one way or the other.
Especially if I love that you brought that up, because if you use your eyes and you watch the way teams guard them,
That's true.
You would know who the number one guy
It's
is
true.
on
The
their
attention
game plan is.
definitely
No,
goes-
definitely.
The number one guy.
Offensively, he's their most explosive offensive player.
100%.
But two-way, Jaren Jackson more important, especially to their defense, and he's averaging 20 now on offense.
give me Mobley.
I'm looking at, Evan Mobley is awesome, and I think Evan
Mobley
Mobley
is
eventually
awesome.
can get to the point to where he is the Cavaliers' best player.
Donovan Mitchell will be 31.
Yeah, but maybe if Mobley ascends even further, I have more belief in Mobley than Jaren Jackson Jr.
Talk.
But, eye test can confirm a lot of biases. So if you think that John Morant is like an electric player, which he is, and you think he's super impactful, then you can find, or the statement you made was that, he's reading defenses better. You can find any single play and be like, yo, he's reading defenses so much better than years before. But I mean, I go by the facts, and the facts are that he got so much better at reading defenses that Memphis took the ball out of his hands to stop reading defenses as much. Those are the facts. His pick and roll efficiency has never been great. Those are the facts.
And I love pick and roll efficiency because I was telling Drew this in the car, and Drew was sitting there, and he was like, "Wow, Riv, I didn't really put two and two together. I understand your sentiment. I understand your point." And I was like, "Yeah, bro, that's just where I'm coming with it." And I want to say this again because numbers paint a story. Numbers have validity to it. There are certain numbers that don't give you context. Context like how defenses guard you. Context like who's your actual screener. Does he bobble the ball? Situations like that. Certain contexts just give you if the bucket goes in or if the bucket does not. And I think when you evaluate certain players, your eye test is important, and your eye test usually matches the numbers. Joel, I'm gonna ask you. I'm not gonna assume. I want to ask you. Watching John Morant play this year, has your eyes told you that this is a player you don't want the ball in his hands as a pick and roll creator?
As of recently, he's been playing a lot better. So I think as of recently,
does it give you room for optimism?
The uptick in the on-ball screens that they've used, he's been playing his best basketball this year. But objectively, looking at the years past, where they were Ja Morant centric, when they moved away from Ja Morant is when they got their most efficient offense.
But would you not argue their most efficient offense has made them their weakest?
It depends. I mean, we never got to see it at its fullest in the playoffs. Now they're using a ton of all ball screens.
Well,
I think right now, when you look at Ja Morant and Memphis Grizzlies, I mean, for one, they were very Ja Morant centric for years before this year.
Yes.
And that always netted them a bad half court offense objectively. I look at Tyrese Halliburton, who you can talk about the system and the players around him and all this other stuff and getting Pascal Siakam. Before they got Pascal Siakam, they were one of the best offenses in the league. When Tyrese Halliburton first got traded to the Pacers, when they were in a full rebuild pretty much, he took that team and had a winning record and was a top 5 seed in the conference before he got hurt. And even with players around him that weren't the best, he was generating an efficient offense. There are some players that you just give the ball to and they have an efficient offense. Tyrese Halliburton last night had single digits in points, but every single time down the court when there were 2 on the ball, he made the right pass and that led to a good shot for his teammates. So I'm looking at, even when Tyrese doesn't impact the game with his scoring, he's still an elite playmaker and generates a good possession for the Pacers. I just look at the Grizzlies and I don't think that's been enough of them. And, quite frankly, we could talk about them in their future all we want. I think they're too small of a market to move on from Ja Morant, but the ceiling with them, I mean, this year, we all are labeling them as a first-round exit pretty much. I mean, nobody has optimism, so even with this uptick in on-ball screens and, let's maximize Ja, that's a first-round exit. So I don't know what we're really talking about in the grand scheme of things with this team, and I think the way that the team has shifted to a different offensive philosophy, the front office being analytics heavy, it does feel as if Ja Morant isn't the number one priority in their future plans. And I mean, based on the way that he's been unavailable and on the court at times inefficient, that's not the number one priority. So there's a lot of politics involved in moving on from him. But if we're just talking strictly basketball, I mean, it's a tough decision. I mean, trading him doesn't make you better unless you get like a LaMelo Ball back, and then you can see what the ceiling with that team could be. But
I would be excited.
It doesn't really make them better unless you're swapping him for an equal player or somebody as talented as him.
And I don't think. Sorry for cutting you off. I don't think.
It's your guy.
First of all, Indiana Pacers, Memphis Grizzlies, different styles in terms of like what they were before. The Memphis Grizzlies was a bottom 7 3-point shooting team when they were the number 2 seed back-to-back years. Indiana, I just double-checked. They were 9 last year in 3-point percentage. So being a good 3-point shooting team helps your half-court offense a ton. I do think the notion this year that their half-court offense has been better, that's a fact statistically. But it really is, if you've seen the Memphis community, they've constantly complained and talked about it. Like, this offense statistically is better, but it has not given you more confidence to win games. And I'm on the side of, I'm kind of in the middle with it, where yes, Ja's been playing great his last 10 to 15 games, but they haven't been winning a ton of games. And that's really more towards their defense falling off a gigantic cliff. I think that's been their big issue. And that's not even Jaren's fault either. I'm not even going to put that on Jaren. But just them not having the proper defensive guys around them. Them kind of trading shooting for defense in terms of Santi Aldama, Luke Kennard getting mad minutes, and them just not being good defenders.
Smart, though.
Smart in the sense, yeah, but like you were built off defense. Like that's been your grind and worth. I will say this, like I said, for me, like the John Morant thing, it's have I seen progression? Yeah. Like, am I excited about it? Yeah. Do I understand your concerns? Absolutely. Do I understand people's concerns about him being injured and stuff like that and him not being a good three-point shooter and stuff like that? Yeah, I get it. I do think what's helped him over the past 10, 15 games is the fact that he's been able to tap into that mid-range game. It's the fact that he's been able to do that. This year, like you mentioned, it is a wash. Drew, I think we're on the same page. It's hard to really find, people. Like you guys mentioned Zion on there, and Zion was a tough one because you don't know if he's going to play a lot. That's the warrant. And then how does the fit look with him and Jaren? Jaren's not a real five. He doesn't really, he's not good at playing that position. So
Can't rebound.
Yeah, my only thing is just I'm not going to go as far as to say Jaren Jackson has lapped him. I think him being a 22-point per game scorer is great. It's awesome in the grand scheme of things. But he's still a guy who self-creates for himself, still struggles on the defensive end in terms of fouling and knowing where to be, positional value and stuff like that. So I think for me, just give him another year. That's all I ask. Just give him another year, figure it out, get him this offseason. If next year we don't see it, I understand it. But
I agree.
I think he's earned the right to get another year, especially with missing an entirety of last year.
So Halliburton in the 21-22 season when he was traded, the Pacers had a 117.5 offensive rating with him on the court, which was 87th percentile. The 5 most used lineups.
What year was that you said?
2021, 2022.
That was when he first got there?
Yes.
Facts.
That was when he got traded. Halliburton, Malcolm Brogdon, Buddy Hield, O'Shea Brissett, Isaiah Jackson. Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Jay Andrews, O'Shea Brissett, Goga Batadze. Halliburton, Buddy Hield, T. Taylor, O'Shea Brissett, Isaiah Jackson.
I don't know half these
T.J.
names.
McConnell, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, O'Shea Brissett, Isaiah Jackson. Halliburton, Buddy Hield, T. Taylor, O'Shea Brissett, Goga Batadze. Then the other lineup is just with Jalen Smith. Pretty much there's not pretty much an underwhelming group of supporting cast players, and they were still an 87th percentile offense. So I still think even if you have a player that is not surrounded by the most talent, and yeah, the spacing has been an issue, but John Morant has always had Bane. He's always had Jaren Jackson Jr.
To be fair to Ja, he has had teams where he has been the best player on a top 3 seed.
That's true, but it's been built off of the defense, not the offense.
Yeah, but it's
Well, I mean, clutch time. He's been one of the clutchest players in the league since he's walked into the league.
all right. Not the same, but the same. OKC is the number 1 team in the West, primarily because of their defense. They do have the best player in the world, arguably in SGA, but primarily because night in, night out, you rely on their defense. Houston Rockets, they're number 2 in the West, primarily because of their defense. There's a correlation.
Yeah, but OKC is top 10 in offensive rating, and they have one of the best half-court offenses. Memphis every year, even when they were a top seed, had one of the worst
Which is
half-court
why
offenses.
I bring up the Rockets. Rockets aren't this overwhelming great offense. Second half, basically post All-Star, they are top 10.
But I don't think we're talking about anybody on the Rockets as an offensive engine.
Hey, wait a minute. 2021, 2022, Memphis was number 4 in points per possession in the half court on offense. 2022, 2023, they were 11th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing things.
No, Ja's great.
This is cleaning the glass. Half court, offense, play context, half court and putbacks.
Ja's amazing.
They're also their offensive rebounding numbers are fucking insane. So
Yeah, because Steven Adams is a GOAT.
but points
So
per
that
play.
year they were the second seed, 2021, 2022. I'm looking at that year. On the court, John Morant. This is a blind search right now.
Crying.
On the court, John Morant in the, let me filter it out to the
You gotta filter out the
2021-2022 season. 2021-2022 season. It's taking a while to load.
I have it. You want me to just?
Yes.
I have his on off.
So on the court, they had a 117 offensive rating on the court, which is good. It's 84th percentile. And off the court, they had a It's searching.
Give me some negative.
It should be.
Some nasty, baby.
It was 114.7.
All right.
Yeah.
We can.
So there were 2 points better offensively with him.
We can get somewhere with that.
They were plus 7.8 with him off the court.
It's great.
That was last year. That was like 8 games, 9 games.
2021, 2022.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, they were plus 7.8 with him off the court and plus 4.6 with him on the court.
There you go. That's huge for you.
We're fucking back, baby.
But the thing is, we knew that though.
No, they were 3 points better with him off the court. Is what I'm saying.
What year was that?
2021, 2022.
That was the year they had the team. That was when they played Lakers. Yeah.
No,
Their offensive rating was
we played
better
them
though.
23.
It's just their defensive rating was better with him off the
That
court.
makes sense. Their
Yeah.
defense rating is OD
That's what
when
it
he's not
is.
on the court. It's unfortunate. Can't guard.
So that's the John Morant observation. First round exits. We'll wait until next year.
Are you gonna give him a year?
That's a good question.
I pretty much have my mind set on Ja.
Okay.
You know, if he plays well in the playoffs and they do something, maybe if they're not the 8th seed and they finish off the season strong and go 3-1 or something, maybe it changes my mind. But no, I mean, I think all of the things that Memphis has done has been to move away from being so Ja-centric. As of recently, they're upticking their pick and roll usage. Taylor Jenkins was doing that too, to be fair, before he got fired. So I don't know what side to pick because Taylor Jenkins, it's not his offense. It's the assistant head coach's offense. The organization wanted the assistant coaches to implement this offense. They made Taylor Jenkins fire all of his staff, which means the organization wanted the ball out of Ja Morant's hands. Taylor Jenkins upticks ball screens.
The new guy wants the ball in Ja's hands.
That's the European coach. The other coach, his name is, I think, Prochet. He's the one that uses a lot of off-ball movements and off-ball actions. So the organization, when they first hired these two, they wanted a different offensive scheme. So this new offense that we've been seeing in Memphis all year long has not even been Taylor Jenkins' offense. He's kind of just been the middleman and kind of regurgitating information, but it hasn't really been his thing. So it seems to me like the organization is also moving away from being less reliant on Ja.
You have to. I mean, like, if he's not going to be available,
He has been available this year though.
yeah. If he's not going to be available, I get it. Like, I'm not hating on it. But to do that for Jaren, which love Jaren to death. Just offensively, he leaves a lot to be desired.
Hey, Jaren's not a franchise player, but you can argue whether or not Ja is at this point.
Not really.
Yeah, you can.
Ja's been that.
Ja is a I mean, this year, you can argue.
I don't think you lose the franchise tag.
You can
1
argue
year,
if,
like, because of 1 year.
like, do you think there's a big difference between John Moran and De'Aaron Fox?
For what they've done for their franchises, yes.
Them saying as them as players.
But I don't think that makes you a franchise player.
Because I think Fox is a great player. I don't think he's a franchise player. And I think the Kings moved on from him because they were up for a contract with him and they didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, but those are those are two completely different situations.
Grizzlies are gonna want to pay Ja though.
Like Ja walked in and then they saw immediate success. That's why it's different. Like they saw immediate success with Fox. It took him some time. So it's like
It was Sabonis.
Memphis might see him as their franchise player. I think Ja's more along the lines of like Trae Young, where in the sense of he got in, they saw success. So now it's like, goddamn, do we want to lose what we have for somebody else? You know, Fox.
I'm
is
just
tough.
looking at the next 4 years and whether or not if I'm a team I want to build around Ja.
I mean, who are you
That's
going to
my
build
thing.
around? Like
I mean, hey, listen, those are the tough decisions that front office
I don't think they're
going to
be bad enough to get a top 5 pick.
Yeah, they were bad enough last year, and then he picked Zach Edey. So
Well, he was 10. That was
yeah,
a weak
but
draft.
Top 10 pick in the lottery, you could have got Mataz Buzelis. There could have been other players there. So
Hindsight,
yeah. I mean, if you want to continue to be competitive and sell tickets and be in the middle, then yeah, you go for it. But it depends on what their long term outlook is. Because I don't know if the Grizzlies are making it out the first round this year. And I think I'm stuck on this year. This year, are they good enough to make it out the first round?
They also passed on Khalil Ware.
Yeah, they did. You know, they're same thing with the Zaire Williams draft. They drafted Zaire Williams over a lot of other good players. So when they've had the opportunity to get a top pick in the lottery, they've missed on those.
That's a fact.
And
That's
who
the
knows exactly
organization.
he's going to be a miss or not.
Oh, dude, he's not good.
I think he's all right, you know, but
you're being
is that like a dude that's like changing the outlook on your future? It's not. So that's the thing with Memphis right now is I don't think that they really have anything to look forward to. Like I look at Minnesota and I'm looking forward to Anthony Edwards and his future in Minnesota, and I think that could lead to a championship one day.
Really?
Yes, absolutely it can.
I'm not saying that to compare Ja or Ant. I'm looking at it more from what Minnesota has done and their infrastructure and just their history. And outside of that 1 year, like Ant's talent is undeniable. But with the way they're a small market, they're not going to, I don't know if they're going to be able to bring in a ton of stars. Then you have OKC, you have Houston, San Antonio is going to be on the way. I don't know. That's also another situation where I can see Ant winning a championship. Do I see him winning one with Minnesota?
Well, they put all the chips on the table to win a championship with the team that they constructed when they traded for Gobert. They had that much belief in Anthony Edwards. And then they traded Cap because they had that much belief in Ant-Man and his
No, the belief is fine.
that they're going to have the cap to do it. I just think with Anthony Edwards, the ceiling is there. He's that good enough of a player to where you can construct a team to win a championship. With John Morant, it's TBD.
I don't know if you'll be able to construct it in Minnesota is my thing.
Yeah, maybe not, but I think you got to bank on it.
They just traded 2 picks for Rob Dillingham?
They did 29
and 31.
Rudy Gobert's getting older, and that's they're another team. I'm looking at them. Their half court offense it's been really up and down. You know what I'm saying? So that's another. And then Rudy, he's been the anchor for that defense. That's another situation where do I believe Ant can win a champ? For sure. I'm on that side definitely. Do I think he'll win it with Minnesota? That's the thing. I don't know.
Maybe they get Kevin Durant and they do it.
You're praying on that.
Yeah, they can do it. NFL news: Armstead retired. The Dolphins' offensive line is now Patrick Paul, Liam Eichenberg, Aaron Brewer, and James Daniels and Austin Jackson. Now, I think they were already going to go offensive lineman in the first round. I think this just solidifies it that they're going to go offensive line in the first round. I like Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks Jr. at that pick. And the Raiders cut Jack Jones. I think the Raiders are going Will Johnson at 6. I think they're going to draft a culture setter, a winner, a national champion. Pete Carroll has always been attached to those type of players. I think they're going corner. I know there's Ashton Genty buzz, but this defense is pretty bad.
This was the best news that I could have woke up to because now Ashton Genty has another chance to slide. I think that if you go Will Johnson, that's not a bad pick. That's actually a great pick. You're getting the best corner available, and you need that depth at the DB position.
What pick do they have?
6. Teron Armstead retiring, I'm going to be honest with you, man.
That should hurt.
It was a bullet. It hurt. I kind of felt like that's where they were moving towards, the way that they were having the discussions in the offseason.
Draft offensive line.
Get on their knees, look up to the sky, and ask the Lord to help them. That's all they can do, truthfully. Yeah, they do have to draft offensive line. We see how successful that's been for them. Do you know how successful it's been? It hasn't. That's my concern.
You saw Tyreek's been hinting.
He's throwing up the peace sign. He's making videos.
Very, very, very funny.
It's not great times in Miami Dolphins world. I'm stressed. I'm concerned for my guy, Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not optimistic about what this season has in store for him. This offensive line's putrid. We're going back to 21, 22 Tua, where it's get the ball hike, drop a step or two, throw the ball. That's what it's going to have to be next season. And he thrives in that. But now we're getting back to the check down merchant allegations, and we're not going to have exciting plays. And that's going to be a bummer having to deal with that on a week-to-week basis of nonstop chatter. I'm just going to hope for the best. I'm praying for him. I'm praying for Miami Dolphins fans. And Teron Armstead, solid career. Amazing player. I wish you were staying one more year, but I understand putting your health first.
Yeah, hope the Raiders do get Will Johnson. That'd be dope. Love Will Johnson. You guys know how I feel about him.
Michigan GOAT.
Michigan GOAT. Didn't allow a touchdown 3 years.
Truly a demon.
Truly a demon. Short demon, too. Reminds me of Joe Hayden. That's what he reminds me of.
Okay.
In terms of Miami, dude, damn, you lose Teron Armstead, Tyreek Hill's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Don't know if I want to be here. Don't want to play that long. Want to retire. Want to take my money. Want to win. Just a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be saying. I feel like, especially now, your team needs you the most.
The Dolphins' offensive line was actually good 2 years ago, guys. Teron Armstead, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Austin Jackson, who was good.
You lost Javon Holland. I think that's also another guy you lost who's really good. Guys are getting older. You still have an injury team. You still have a skinny offensive line. Now you got to go draft that. You probably wanted to draft somewhere else. Now you have to go heavy offensive line. You're sitting in a division with the king, Josh Allen, and Drake May's on his way up. The Jets are the Jets, but you have the Bengals. You have Baltimore. You have Pittsburgh. You have Denver, who's here. Now you have the Chargers. You still have the Chiefs. It's like you're sitting here. You have all this money allocated to all these players, And there's no avenue for you to really make a push for a second round. You know, I think making the playoffs is going to be super tough for Miami. You still can't really play in the cold. I think that's something that, you know, warrants.
They can't run the ball.
That's also a big thing. And then, I'll be honest, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle,
Are you going to say
nimble.
overrated?
Nimble. No, not overrated. Nice as shit. Nimble. Very nimble, especially Waddle, dealing with a ton of injuries last year.
Heartbreaking.
A lot of banged up, naggy stuff. Little skinny guy. You know, he can run really fast. Tyreek Hill, just small wide receivers. You know, they need somebody. When you got a small wide receiver, I feel like you need a tall guy.
Nick Westbrook-Akina on the way.
Yeah, you need a big guy to just combat what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But Miami, it's a tough road for Miami. I do feel bad for them because I feel like at some point they have to be really good, right? But they've been running into some bad luck lately.
I think it just depends on who they draft. Like, they have options. Austin Jackson wasn't bad a couple years ago.
He wasn't.
And he can still be good at right tackle. James Daniels, when he was healthy last year, was really good.
Great pickup.
Aaron Brewer at center was really good in their run game, just getting to the second level in their zone scheme. And Patrick Paul was their second-round pick last year, who is supposed to replace Teron Armstead.
Hopefully he could cook up.
But he might not be ready yet, so I think they still should take a tackle in the first round.
Definitely.
And then Liam Eichenberg, that's the replacement. But, like, when you take a look at the Dolphins' offensive line, like, it looks terrible, but I think 2 picks can
change it.
Like, vastly change it.
No doubt.
And I think this is the draft to do it, especially in the first round. Like, Josh Simmons, I think, is arguably the best tackle in the draft. He just has injury history. And if they could draft him, they have somebody at left tackle for the future. So I think this just made the inevitable happen now. Like, Teron Armstead, his future was always in question. He gave you like a good 8 to 12 games a year. Couldn't rely on him anyway. You got to find the replacement.
You just
option.
mentioned, though, Josh Simmons has injury history.
Let's
You
go bring in another.
Bring in another injury guy. Teron Armstead was just dealing with a whole ton. It's just, damn, it's really, I feel bad. I really do.
Pain.
Yeah, either that, Kelvin Banks Jr. Like, I think the Dolphins have a way out of their problems. They just have to hit on the draft. That's really what it comes down to.
That's always what it comes down to, sadly.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side podcast.
I'm going to do the wide receiver.
I want to do it with John.
We also could do it with John or Dels. I agree.
Yeah, I want to do it with John.
Well, can you guys just run over mine real quick?
Do
you want me to take a look at it to see if it's valid or not?
I want you guys to tell me if I'm tripping.
Okay.
Who's your tripping name that you have there?
I don't think I have a tripping name. I just think I missed somebody. So look, let's just walk with me. We can just do mine, and then we'll
save ours.
Yeah, yes. Just walk with me. So Megatron, I had a 1.
Okay.
Like, obvious.
Don't explain.
Julio 2.
Okay.
This might. I knew I was gonna get a little pushback from him.
I like Julio more than
Okay.
AB.
I feel like AB 3.
Now you like Julio one, maybe?
I feel like whichever one, 2 or 3, they both have the lock spots.
I like
regardless.
size.
I know you do.
Big
Kind of
dudes.
size.
I know you. No, he's heightest.
I like size.
No,
Like
he's heightest.
big.
6'3". I love it.
You know he keeps it on him type shit.
You know, it's definitely
like
a third
it. I
leg
like it.
sitting in there. Number 4, I had Andre Johnson.
Okay. Wow.
2010s, I can't.
20.
do.
I agree. I had him on my list.
Okay.
He was not dominant in the 2010s.
Because I looked at him. I looked at his numbers. Let me
He
just-
had-
let me
he had
just-
like
let me
3
just-
seasons,
Let me
4
just double
seasons.
check. Let me just double check to make sure I'm not bugging.
You're not.
I looked at his numbers. His numbers looked insane from 2010 after.
He dropped off in like
3
2013.
Yeah, it was like 3 seasons.
And I wanted to be fair to him because literally the year or 2 before was when he had 14 and 15. So I was like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't mind it. I think it's high. But go ahead.
Larry at 5.
That's why you need to switch that. With respect, you need to switch that. But continue.
AJ Green at... No, I had D-Hop at 6.
Okay.
I had AJ Green at 7.
Okay.
Demarius at 8.
Yeah, that was a low name. But
AJ
continue.
Green
AJ Green is nice.
He's better.
Oh my god.
They're in the same tier. They're in the same tier.
I don't
AJ
hate
Green
it.
was
I
like
don't
a
hate it.
top 10 receiver as a rookie.
So he's a deep... They're in the same
One
tier.
had Tebow, one had Dalton.
Then he got Peyton.
Thank God, and he went to 1600.
I wish
AJ
AJ
had
Green had
Andy
somebody better
Dalton.
than Dalton.
Now we're back to Dalton being good. Okay, continue.
No, I'm saying they're in the same tier.
I get where you're coming from.
Number 9, I had Brandon Marshall.
W respect.
I kind of think like at his best, he was better than Demarius Thomas too.
Who?
Not in the
Brandon
Brandon
Marshall? Okay, I don't hate that.
Like
Demarius
Brandon
Thomas
Marshall
is
is
nice.
so good.
He was good as hell.
Demarius Thomas was nice.
Nah, but Brandon Marshall was amazing.
I also wanted to show respect. Rip him.
I don't hate it. I have DT higher than Brandon Marshall, but I get it.
And then this is number 10.
Golden Tate,
No, but I looked him up.
Doug Baldwin.
I heard you say T.Y. Hilton. Let me throw you something. OBJ,
I was gonna say Odell's high on my list.
Jordy Nelson, Des Bryant, T.Y. Hilton. Those were the last 4.
Odell's obnoxiously high on my list. I'm not
I
gonna lie.
kind of would have T.Y. Hilton over Jordy.
What about Dez?
Dez, I think, is better at his best than
That's
T.Y.
what I was thinking. Dez at 10, because Dez, he's just.
I'm sorry, Odell's better than him.
I don't hate that either.
I did my list based on like early 2010s.
Okay.
So like Odell Beckham Jr. like did not make my list. Because
Brother, he
did
had the
early
greatest
2010s.
3-year start of a career.
Oh yeah, he did.
I
There's
just want to say
for sure.
2010s era. And they
You
just cut out after.
Yeah, because he's more like, I don't know, he's like in slap in the middle
like
of it.
It's 16, 17,
Yeah.
18, 19.
I valued it heavily.
Come on, King.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had him high.
I like Fitz more. I like Des Bryant more.
Fitz more. Like, I get it. But
T.Y.
Show
Hilton.
respect.
I mean, come on, man.
They're all
T.Y.
better than Hines Ward.
I'm not going to share my list, but I need respect for Odell.
Just tell me where OBJ where you had him at.
I think I had him 5.
Ooh.
I can have Odell Beckham Jr. on the list. I just can't have him like in the top 5.
I mean,
I
I'm
think he
sorry.
didn't do enough in the era.
He was better.
Yeah, that would be my little runaround. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I think you look at Odell, he had 5 1,000-yard seasons in the 2010s. That's a lot.
Okay, thank you.
But
You're gonna downplay.
but other players like Julio had 7.
Well,
AB
Julio's
had
better.
7.
Julio's better than him.
Larry had 5.
I had
Thomas
Larry
had
over him.
5. AJ Green had 6.
AJ should have had
Hopkins
7.
had
He got
5.
hurt.
T.Y. Hilton had 5. Calvin Johnson had 6. And he retired at
I
his
did
peak.
have Calvin over him, of course.
This is
Deshaun
like
Jackson
4
had
locks.
4.
Be honest.
Brendan Marshall had
Hey.
5.
Hey,
I just said to be honest.
You could have been nice
If we're
about
talking
it.
about the 2010s, like Mike
could have
Evans.
been nice about
Mike
it.
Evans had 6 1,000-yard seasons in the 2010s.
Do you know when they were drafted?
they on the same draft?
So, who's better?
I don't have Mike Evans on my list either.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's why I said early 2010s
Thank you.
because I didn't
Deshaun
want to put
Jackson's
people
a
like in the
burner. Show some
middle
respect.
of
He's
the
great.
2010s.
Great.
So be nice. All I asked was to be nice.
And I just said to be serious. Like,
No,
there's
don't.
moments in
That's
basketball you would say
disrespectful.
be serious.
Not with a
I'm
guy
telling
like that.
you to be
That's,
serious.
No, that's disrespectful. Don't do that.
Odell
Don't do that. It's
gave
not
us-
like he named fucking Golden Tate comparing him to OBJ. Right?
I just need us
He
to
didn't
be
name
honest.
Jeremy Maclin.
I just want honesty.
All
Who's
right, but-
better?
OBJ.
That's
all
it.
I'm asking is show respect. That's all I'm
Okay.
asking.
All right.
He was being rude.
I really
You didn't show
like
me that.
D-Jax.
You didn't show me that. just
I
now.
love and adore Odell Beckham.
You didn't show me you liked him.
I'm not gonna say I like him like anywhere near Odell.
You didn't. You showed me you hated him.
I don't hate him.
When you said that.
I definitely don't hate him.
Yeah, he had moments. Do we like evaluate playoff stats here? Do we take that into account?
Are you saying
I
like
was
to
told
diminish
playoff stats
Odell?
don't matter for wide receivers.
Because Odell Beckham Jr.'s playoff stats might not be kind to him.
He's cooking because the Packers game was catastrophically bad.
It was cold that day, wasn't
And it's crazy because he never dropped shit. And I watched a touchdown get
Wasn't
dropped.
it that in the Norman game against the Panthers game when he played Josh Norman?
That wasn't in the playoffs.
I'm just saying in general.
He
that-
fried Josh Norman.
T.Y. Hilton.
No.
He fried him.
T.Y.
No,
Hilton.
He fried him.
No.
There's a game where they play.
Not in Washington.
No.
When
in
Josh was in Carolina.
He steps over him. Odell catches
sure?
either a touchdown or 2-point conversion, and he steps over Norman in the end zone.
There was it Xavier Rhodes? There was a corner
No,
that
Rhodes
put him in a,
closed.
there was
Rhodes
a corner
closed.
that puts him in a
Rhodes
box. It put
closed.
him in a box.
It was Rhodes.
It was Rhodes? Okay, I think
It was
Rhodes.
Rhodes.
So T.Y. Hilton in the 2013 playoffs in 2 games had 327 yards.
Damn.
And 2 touchdowns.
T.Y. was lit. He had a cool
And-
But
celebration.
Norman put Julio in the box one time.
I mean, Norman was like that.
Yeah, facts.
in 11 games.
But Julio also went for 300 against them, did he not?
Julio.
In 11 games, T.Y. Actually, I'm going to just do his Indianapolis career.
He played with Payne,
2013 to
correct?
2014. No, he
No.
played with Luck. Looking at 2012 to 2018, just the 2010s. It's not giving me the amount of games. But for his career, 11 playoff games, 819 yards. It's pretty good.
How many?
819 yards in
How many
11
games?
playoff games.
That's really good.
Who was that?
T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You think he's going to the Hall of Fame?
No, I don't think so. I think he's like in the Hall of Very, Very Good. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
So Odell got targeted 9 times, 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown.
Fraud stats.
Why do you say that?
Because we watched that game.
They won. Oh, they lost actually.
The playoff game?
The Giants lost. No, it wasn't playoffs.
Oh, I
they didn't
thought
play
you
in the
said about
playoffs.
playoffs. He was
It was
abysmal.
38-35.
What game is that?
Giants scored 21 in the fourth.
What game is that?
This is the game that you were talking about Norman versus Odell.
Yeah, I remember they was beefing.
He did have a touchdown. They kicked the game-winning field goal with 5 seconds left.
So how many yards did Odell have in that game?
77.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good game.
I remember they was beefing though. They was beefing.
76,
heavy.
excuse me.
I think they fought throughout the game.
They did fight.
That's what I'm saying. They fought in the
It's a
game.
miracle they didn't get ejected.
Shit, I remember when Jalen Ramsey was locking AJ Green so bad up. He
Just didn't even go run his route. He choked him, didn't he?
Yes. He jabbed him and then choked him.
Yeah, nah, he
Pulled
was
the
on
Draymond.
some nut shit. Yeah.
He was upset. He was old.
Yo, let me ask you a question. Was yesterday okay, what Draymond did?
What'd he do?
He goes and tells the ref, so call it then. He fucking elbows Şengün, unwarranted, just like...
Yeah, he did. Well, there was twice. There was
psycho.
like once where like he like pushed Şengün's face, and then there was another one where he went up and then his elbow
I think
went
that
up.
one wasn't. That wasn't.
No, did you see what I'm talking about, though? It was a dead ball. He's literally talking to the ref, and he goes, so call it then.
Yeah.
Boom, and pops Şengün.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yo!
He was upset because they were fighting and not fighting, but
I know
like they
what
was
you mean.
and
Hand
the
fighting type
ref
shit.
wasn't calling, so he was like, "Yo, call this," and then he just straight
Yeah,
elbowed him.
boom.
They were like, and then he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Okay."
wildin'.
I was like, "Okay, Dre, I see you, Dre." But the second one where he went up, that's just unfortunate. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
that one I don't care about.
Yeah, that's
no, I
unfortunate.
care about a dead ball. You just literally... Like, come on.
He saw for that. I wasn't
Who?
Şengün.
Draymond? Oh, Şengün.
Yeah, he saw for that. I
He
wasn't.
got
like,
elbowed in the face.
You can't let a man just elbow you, man. You gotta stand.
I don't think he was expecting on a dead ball to get popped.
You gotta expect
On a-
everything from Draymond, bro.
On a dead ball, that's crazy.
Scoreboard.
He had
It
they
talked.
It was tied at the time.
Şengün won though.
Şengün won rings. Oh,
It always comes
Yeah,
back
he's
to
still
that.
talking about right now.
so you gotta do, bro.
Sound like Klay Thompson now.
Oh, my God.
You might be cooking.
That's going to do it for episode 477. We'll be back on Wednesday with Mr. John Tortorelli. You can follow us on Twitter at PickAsidePod, on TikTok and Instagram at PickAsidePodcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.